Oh, what's up, Black Comic Lords? Let me tell you, look, first of all, I apologize for us getting a late start. We're just having some technical difficulties we got to work through. Um, we got a fire episode for you. I highly suggest that you like this video from now, subscribe to this channel, and share this video. This is going to be a good one. A little bit of disclaimer. We're going to be talking about Eyes of Wakanda. And look, I understand the divisive nature that rumors of this show started within the Black Panther fandom. I understand how many of us Black Panther fans feel about Marvel's poor decision to not recast the character, or even worse, kill the character in the MCU. Bad decision. Everyone knows it. They're finally starting to realize it. But even more so, over the last few years since Chadwick's passing, there has been a documented effort to, one would say, sideline the character, focus on mantlization of the character. There's been talk about, oh, well, they just want to focus on Wakanda to take away from the fact that their Black Panther is not in the MCU. I get all that. I've said all of this. But that is not this show. This show is something different. This show is something special. And we're going to talk about why that is. We're going to start by pointing out a very simple fact. Let me share something with y'all. Understand what this is. In the credits, Wakanda, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Special thanks to Christopher Priest. Understand. Let us be clear. The Black Panther first appeared in Fantastic Four 52. But he's not the only character that appeared in that issue. Wakanda appeared. Because understand, when Jack Kirby decided, hey, I've got friends, I know other fans that are Black, and I recognize they don't have a character like them to look at in our comics. We should create something that's meaningful. So when he and Stan Lee created this character, it wasn't simply about just the man. It was also where he comes from and what that place represents. It, for all intents and purposes, is a Black utopia, right? Think about the concept of an uncolonized African nation able to develop on its own and become the most advanced society on the planet. That's radical. That's Afrofuturism. Before that concept of a word even existed. It was groundbreaking. But Wakanda was the backdrop and a secondary character to the title character of Black Panther. But nonetheless, it has always been a character in the comics, particularly in the Black Panther's first run of Jungle Action, written by the great Don McGregor. Wakanda got explored, expanded upon, and has always been a part of the Black Panther series as a secondary character. So it's important. It is important. And this show explores what Wakanda is at its core in the finest traditions of some of the greatest writers this titular characters series has ever had. So speaking of the greatest writers this series has ever had, we have Mr. Geoffrey Thorne. Let's add him to the stage.
No.
That's you. That's you, bro.
One of the writers.
I said one of. Did I not say one of? One of the
What's
writers.
up, Joe?
What's up, man? How you doing? Thank you for joining us.
You know, you got me. I'm with y'all.
Look, you're one of our fellow Black comic lords. We've known, because of that, we've known how special this show is going to be for a while. But now we finally get to talk about why. We've been waiting.
Hey, Jenny, something's coming up. Yeah.
All right, so let's jump right into it. Everyone knows the show. You tell me about what the concept of the show is about.
Okay. You want the show concept or the history of how it got born?
Let's start with the history of how it got born.
Okay. Me and Todd Harris, the guy who created the show, we've been friends for 20 years. We became friends, ironically, making comic books. We did not know each other. We got put together by independent creator called Robert Roach, who did a book called The Roach and a book called Mentu, and he's currently doing a book called Ethereal. And he was going to do a book. A jam book. He's like, Jeff, can you come? Yeah, exactly. Can you come write me a story in it? And I was like, okay, that's a whole long story. We met on the book. We were not friends. Todd is exactly the kind of guy that I can be in business with. He is like me. He's no shorts, no bullshit, just straight up what you see is what you get type of fellow. No backstabbing, no side of the mouth, no social climbing crap. And in Hollywood, you meet somebody like that, you put them in your pocket and you seal it shut. Like, you keep that friend. And we became friends over many, many years. And we're both comic book geeks. And we were talking all over many years. We've made comics together. And our careers were doing what they were doing. There were many false starts. We tried to do the Black Image twice with many other creators, many great people. And for different reasons, they did not happen. And through it all, me and Todd were like, we're going to do some stuff. But we had our careers going, you know how it is. Real life keeps you from making stuff sometimes. Yeah. So once Chris Priest took over the Black Panther, which had basically been laying fallow for years at that point, he was basically showing up sometimes in the Avengers and occasionally in the Fantastic Four. No real character consistency. Nobody really been thinking about it. And there's this writer, and I'm sure from the editorial, well, he's black, let's give him the Black Panther. Priest has been on record saying, not my favorite character, wasn't really my idea of my best job, but all right. And he started thinking about, what would this be? And the result is Everything We Love. Everything We Love came from Chris Priest deciding, yeah, okay. Right? And Todd and I were like over the moon. We were going back and forth like, this is this, and oh, this is dope, and oh my God, this is great. And he pulled this out of real history, and this came from over here, and all this stuff, right? And everyone knows what that phenomenon was in comics, because if there had been an internet when T'Challa turned around and went, oh no, I've been spying on you. What?
Yeah. Just for those who aren't clear, the characters of the Hatut Zeraze started in Black Panther Volume 3, introduced in this series by Christopher Priest.
Right.
Chris, as an aside, earliest work by Aletha Martinez, Marvel Comics' first African-American artist, by the way. She did the backgrounds on these issues.
Holy crap.
Issues. You can see her name up in the credits over there in the upper right-hand corner.
I did not know that.
Most people do.
Every time I come here. Yeah, so we were just, as was everybody. And it wasn't just a black thing, but it was great for black fans, obviously. And Todd and I were just going crazy about it for a long time. And then we got on with our lives. A lot of other cool stuff happened also. So that was just one of the many cool things. Years go by, and Todd's storyboarding career, he just kept moving up, man, moving on up. He is, in the history of storyboarding, Todd is one of the top 5 to ever play the game. And it's hard to describe that to people outside the industry. But just to put it into some kind of context, both Taika Waititi and the Russo brothers, when being interviewed about other David, send David to hell, send David to hell. Both Taika Waititi and the Russo brothers, when being interviewed about their films, they called Todd out. Nobody calls out the storyboard artist. Nobody calls out the storyboard artist to say, this sequence that we did, we didn't change anything. We just shot what Todd drew. Like the guys who make the John Wick, there's a documentary about the history of John Wick.
Right.
Wick is Pain. Go watch it. You're going to see my boy in there, the storyboard artist. That's how integral to that process he was. And he moved up through the ranks from regular storyboard artist to his insights made him part of what they call the story group at Marvel. So basically, he was being shuffled around for all the movies. They were fighting over him. Can we get Todd to work on this? No, he's busy over here. Todd's trying to get on Black Panther. No, we got him over here in Avengers. You can't have him like that, right? And so over our many conversations, one of the things, as you just pointed out, we talk about how would Wakanda work based on how it's been redesigned. Because the original Wakanda was T'Challa was the only genius. He was it. He's the one who brought this backwards African nation into the present day and, in fact, into the future, right? He was that, right? And then it got reworked a little bit, I think, based on what people thought was going on in Africa, depending on what era. So the 60s, it was one way, 70s, it was one way, and so on. And Priest showed up and went, no, it's like this. And then Hudlin came in and really flipped the script on everything by saying, in addition to all that you've learned, they've been lying to you about all this. They've been way better than all of you for quite some time, my friends.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, so he sort of won up the I've been spying on you the whole time by saying, oh, no. Wakanda's been sitting here watching you idiots for the last thousands and thousands of years, and you just keep screwing up. Man, the only reason we're out now is because you're just right on the edge all the time. We have to come out now. Right? And again, people are like, what? And Todd and I, we're both kind of sci-fi heads. We were like, okay, well, how would that work? Not because we're ever going to do anything with it, because we're just a couple of geeks talking about superheroes and comics and stuff, and we just got into it. And again, years go by. Todd's career is doing what it's doing. We're not having some ongoing, like, what if ever I got to drive? It wasn't that kind of conversation. It was just geeks talking. And Todd got an idea. And he was like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, dude, that's dope. If you were a writer, if I was a writer with your connections to the top level guys like that, I'd be on the phone. I wouldn't have wasted time telling me.
And that idea was the premise for this show.
For Eyes of Wakanda. Now,
what's the time frame that we're talking about?
The time frame here is Endgame, right? So wait, not Endgame. Infinity War. Right?
So this is back before Chadwick Boseman had even passed.
It was before anyone knew he was sick.
Wow. Like
nobody knew any of that. Todd's sitting basically on the set. Bear in mind, I'm not there. This is what I've heard after. Oh my God, Jeff, what did they do? Right? He says Kevin happened to be there. If you ever met Todd, everybody loves Todd. Todd is one of those dudes. He's an automatic handshake. Everybody smiles when Todd comes in the room. So Kevin Feige knows who Todd is, which again, he's the storyboard artist. Kevin Feige knows who he is. Okay, so he's on the set and he's like, "Hey, Wakanda's pretty cool. Like, there's what you guys have done with Adora. There are these other people over here. What if you had a show? It wasn't called Eyes of Wakanda. It wasn't called anything. What if you had a show that did bop, 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 right?" And Kevin's like, "Whoa, that's pretty dope. Okay, let's go talk to Ryan, because he's in charge of Black Panther.
Ryan Coogler.
Let's go talk to Ryan about it." So they went and talked to Ryan about it. And Ryan was like, "Yup, dope as hell. Let's do it." So at that time, as far as anyone knew, obviously, Black Panther had made the company $1 billion point something, and Ryan's, theoretically spooling out number 2 in his head, and we're writing it already. Our lead actor is absolutely going to be here for forever and ever, and like, let's do this thing that will sort of support all that. Because the one thing is, while we're all comic book heads, it's kind of like with Star Trek. Like, you think you know the Federation, but unless somebody fleshes it out, you don't. Right? Unless somebody shows you, oh, we're going to do a courtroom drama set in the Federation, or here's what it's like in the frontier. Unless you do an episode about it, you don't really know, right? So Eyes of Wakanda was basically like, let's tell some of those stories of like that 10,000 years of this country's history. Like, that's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stories to tell, right? Also, I think sometimes people forget the apex warrior of Wakanda is the Black Panther, but
below that,
Wakandans, okay, and below that, below the Black Panther are the Dora and the Hatut Zeraze, right? But below that is just a regular Wakandan. A regular Wakandan is to the rest of the world what Captain America is to a regular person.
Yes, that's the concept that I think a lot of people forget, is that Wakandans as a society, as a people, are more advanced than everyone else on the freaking planet.
Exactly. They are, put it like this, the average Wakandan lifespan should be about 200 years. That's an average, regular, just walking around Wakandan. Okay? So we just started getting into how would that work? What would that do to your society? And, you know, all this. And also, Wakanda is about the size of this little country in southern Africa called Lesotho.
Yeah.
Ironically, a place I lived when I was a kid. How weird is that? And there's only right now about 2.5 million people living in it. So maybe 1.5 million for most of Wakanda's history.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a lot of Wakandans in the world, and the space they occupy isn't that big. Right? So they're able to hide and do all this stuff. We just started thinking about what is their philosophy and what kind of tech would they do, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And so when
all the kind of cool stuff that Don McGregor and Billy Graham did on their Jungle action run.
All of that, right? And so Todd basically was like, okay, and they put him into what they call development, and development without anything, no show, no name, no nothing. He creates sort of a vision, we call it a deck. He creates a visual storytelling guide about what would the show be. Here's how it would look. Here are the eras that I would want to take a look at. We had no idea how many episodes we would get or not get. It could have been, at that point, it could have just been a one-off special, right? In the sense of, like, it could have been just a half hour.
Yeah, it's important that we put all this in context in terms of time, because understand, Chadwick is still alive.
Very much so.
And the plan, and I believe you can confirm this, the plan was that the Black Panther was going to take over the Avengers.
Yeah. The Black Panther.
Chadwick's character was going to take over the Avengers. So they were invested, particularly after they made all this money with the Black Panther film, they were invested with the concept of having Chadwick lead the MCU, become the new lead of the MCU, and expounding upon Wakanda.
People forget about this. Black Panther 1 took everyone in the world except Black Americans by surprise. Yeah. Okay? The success of that movie shocked the world except Black America. Prior to that movie coming out, Black America, we just talked about this, was going to the gym, buying new clothes, setting up bus tours to go see the premiere of Black Panther. And then they kept going to see it. And then white kids were ordering Black Panther costumes off of Winter Soldier. Right? It's like, I want to dress up as not blackface. I want to wear the costume and be the Black Panther. Right?
Right.
So when they started with Black Panther 1, they thought it was going to do, let's say, Ant-Man business, which ain't nothing to sneer at, and would have been very respectable, and everyone would be patting everybody on the back. But when it came back in at $1 billion point whatever, they got shocked. Like they were back-footed by that. They were like, "What? What happened? We got how much in the bank?" Like literally a lottery win. It was just that big of a shock. Nobody knew. Okay, but after that, they're like, "How can we capitalize on this?" Right? Obviously. Do we want to do a Wakanda world at Disneyland? Are we going to do that? Okay. Those are the kind of conversations that were suddenly being had, which were absolutely not in the mix before that movie blew up. Right. Okay. So now we got and also, Mr. Boseman's a damn fine actor. He has what the kids call the riz to carry it. He wasn't just a really good actor. He was also a movie star. There's two different jobs, and not everyone is both. He was both, right? And they're like, uh-oh, cha-ching, let's do something with this, right? And so there are all these things that got announced. We're going to do an Okoye project. We're going to do this project. We're going to do this thing. Before even Ironheart was a dream in anybody's mind, all of this was started being in the mix, right? And then he dies. Then Chadwick Boseman dies. So technically, Eyes of Wakanda doesn't get affected by whether the Black Panther has got a movie out or not, because it's not about him. It's about the history of his country. But I guess they could have terminated it if they wanted to. But it's a damn good project. And Todd is a damn fine designer and a damn fine storyteller. And they were like, no, let's keep going. So they did. And at some point, a while after that, they put a writer's room together, and the rest is what ended up being what you see.
Now, this is Black Comic Lord, so we're always going to try and tie in the comics to it. And we talk about Todd Harris and his storyboarding work, but he's also had some comic work.
Yes.
Here's Marvel Voices Wakanda Forever a few years ago. He did the storyline called The Education of Changamire. Takes place in 1934. So this is around Azuri the Wise, I would say, I guess, is the Black Panther at the time.
Yeah.
T'Challa's grandfather, the one who fought against Captain America in World War II. And we come across this character who's an educator who has kind of a checkered past. Because back in Ethiopia in 1895, during the original invasion by the Italians, she was one of the Wakandans who, for all intents and purposes, seemed to be a bit of a, I don't know, Hatut Zeraze or a war dog, however you want to phrase it. She is abroad in Ethiopia. She says one of the best strategists. Went to the Kingdom of Italy, was preparing to invade Ethiopia at the time. She goes rogue because she's like, well, look, we need to stop this. Kind of like the whole Killmonger thing. You know, the colonizers are trying to colonize. We need to stop this as Wakandans. We have the means, we have the technology, and, you know, Wakanda's rules are against that. We don't try to influence the outside world.
Right.
Interesting enough, one of the stories in the Eyes of Wakanda series takes place in Ethiopia. And it takes place a year later in 1896. After the events of this. So if you really want sort of the early inklings, we're talking about the early inklings of the Eyes of Wakanda series, we have this book. But we also have
okay.
X-Force number 2. You just concluded your X-Force run several months ago.
Oh, they concluded it for me.
I was trying to be kind. I love the series. You know I love the series. You had this issue number 2. Todd did the second cover, the Todd Harris variant.
Yep.
Cover.
Yep.
And in that story, you included this artifact. The Drum of Nancy, a lost Wakandan artifact.
Yes.
That could affect reality.
Yes.
And you introduced this agent who is an agent of Wakanda, or you talk about this agent. I said you used the word introduce, which I'll countermand in a second. But this agent named Sela, how do you pronounce it? Sele, who describes herself as a member of the Spirit Archive.
Yeah.
We're going to circle back to what that is. But for all intents and purposes, to sort of fast forward, she is a member of this Hatut Zeraze group who tracks down Wakandan artifacts. Is that right?
Essentially, yeah. Like, this X-Force came after I was done in the writer's room for Eyes of Wakanda. Todd is now off doing the animation, the real heavy lifting part of it. But again, he's my best friend. So I'm like, yo, I'm putting my guys in Wakanda in issue 2. One, I'm going to talk to my editor. I want you to do a cover, because even though no one's ever heard of Eyes of Wakanda, by the time this comes out, they will have, or close to it. The timing of when that show got released, Eyes of Wakanda has basically been in the can for over a year. So we thought it was going to come out earlier, then we thought it was going to come out way later. We just never knew. So I was like, about the time this comes out, we can have reference points, right? People go, oh my God, is that the thing that was in the, like that? And he's like, yeah, cool. And then there was a concern about, well, for instance, the lion is called Nkati in the show. This bad guy, the Spellmaster, is Nkati, who I had planned to make a descendant of the original lion, but frankly, there wasn't enough page space to get it all out, and I didn't want to do it wrong. And I also didn't want to step on Todd's toes because the show had not been announced yet, so it couldn't make a reference to something that had not yet been announced. That could look bad on Todd, which I did not want ever to do. So made it a little bit more oblique. But yeah, so I created a Spirit Archive, and they're basically the subset of the Hatut Zeraze that deals specifically with magic.
So they're sort of that's the modern name for that same organization we see in the television show.
Yeah, but they just do magic. The Spirit Archive does not do like regular espionage or any of that kind of stuff. They're specifically like magically based. Well,
magic artifacts.
They do magic. They defend Wakanda specifically against magical threats and items and stuff like that. But that place where the Iron Fist fight takes place in the show, theoretically, that's where they take all the magical items to put them next to all the other items that we've recovered that should be kept away from people. So
that sounds like a whole spin-off book that should be. All right, let me not start because Marvel never watches this anyway, so I won't even.
Dude, they're never okay. Everybody's watching this. They will never let me write the Black Panther book. You guys can put that away. It is never going to happen. Okay.
Which vexes me. It pisses me off.
It pisses you off.
Because when you do get a chance to write the Black Panther book, what happens? You create magic.
Okay. So Sele gets introduced in this book, the one shot. Her name is actually the Noni character in the show, and Sele were Selemang, were the names of two sisters I knew, both sisters and sisters, in Lesotho when I lived there. Noni, and they stuck with me. They were beautiful, beautiful girls, and they stuck in my mind all this time. So I thought, let me name these characters after them. So Sele and the Anansi drum get introduced conceptually. The drum gets introduced in this book, and Sele gets introduced physically in this book. And then I brought it back again. And I also added Nketi because they don't have enough black villains in Marvel Comics. So I guarantee you no one's ever going to think about Nketi again, but he calls himself the Spellmaster. His first time you meet him, he stole Anansi's reality-shaping drum from the Spirit Archive. He's kind of a badass, right? Ain't nobody going to do anything with him until I come back because they don't think about it that way. But that's there for you, world, if you want him. Do what you got to do.
You said until I come back, not if I come back. You said until I come back.
I'm sure they'll figure a way to make me do something. I don't know. But at any rate, so a lot of this was to dovetail with what Todd was building over here on the left, right? What we had helped Todd build, him and the writers have built. But I can't stress this more strongly. This was Todd's baby. Like, development is a monster, especially when you're dealing with a high-profile IP at a company as sort of very over your neck as Marvel and DC and Disney independently would be, and now they're one company. So, and Todd, who had never, I think it's very difficult. It's like if you were the guy who helped make the charts for the football team, the NFL team, and you were the guy who helped the coach make the charts to show to the team. And then the team owner went, you know what? You should be the coach. What? Yeah, you're the coach. You're going to coach us next year. That's the equivalent of what happened to Todd as a storyboard artist and now being the executive producer, head designer, head director, head storyteller of his own show. Like, this is some magical write it down in the history books crap. All he could do was fail, and he did not fail, right? So he's off making the show part of the show, not the writing part of the show. And I'm back off in my writing world, and I was like, here's what I can do. Hopefully these will coincide, and these things will come out and people will talk about them. Obviously, the timing didn't work out, so it just looked like Jeff making up stuff. But that's what that was about. That's exactly why I took them to Wakanda. It could have been any country. In fact, I think originally I was going to send them to Latveria, but I was like, no, Wakanda. So that's what that was. And
and I did beg you when you told us you're doing the X-Force series, you got to do Wakanda.
Of course. But even in that book, I'm trying to add to the lore. How far ahead of the rest of the world is Wakanda? Roughly now, about 800 years.
Right.
Back in the day, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000?
Which we're going to get into when we talk about this series. But just to recap, comic book heads. First appearance of Sele, King in Black, Black Panther. First appearance or first mention of the Spirit Archive, which is the name of this organization that handles Wakanda's magic stuff. Whether it be magical bad guys, magical artifacts that need to be recovered. Spirit Archive is in X-Force number 2, volume. What volume is that? Volume?
Oh dear God! Volume 7?
7? 7?
Yeah.
All right, just so you remember. All right, let's jump into it.
Okay, it's your world, baby.
So, first episode, I forget what the first episode's called.
First episode is Into the Lion's Den.
Into the Lion's Den takes place in Crete, 1260 BC.
Yes, sort of. Yes. Yeah.
Introduced to this. First of all, let's talk about the animation. I love the animation on this show. Some people have varying thoughts on it. I love the mixture of the 2D and 3D animation. Some people likened it to what was that movie with the Jesus?
Oh, right. I know what you're talking about. Not Jesus.
The King of Persia.
No, the Moses one.
Not Jesus. It was Moses.
Oh my God. Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt. Thank you, Prince of Egypt. Some people likened it to the art, to the animation style in Prince of Egypt. I could see that. I really enjoyed it. I love the color palette. Really dug it.
Todd is a maniac. I will say that most people's frames of reference when they come to this stuff is limited, right? If you grabbed a bunch of illustrators or a bunch of fine artists or a bunch of animators, they would lift out other references than just that one movie. What Todd likes to do is bring to bear. He's ridiculously knowledgeable about stuff you would to do his job. He does not need to know any of the crap that he knows. He just digs in. I agree. But
I'll even take this. Thank you for that comment, Silver Space Sentry. Just to be clear, every single one of these 4 episodes could be its own series.
That was our goal. We were like, we're not walking away without putting things down. Even though we ended up with 4, we thought we were going to have a couple more. There's a whole backstory about that. It's not my place to tell it, but we weren't going to have a lot. We were never going to have a lot, right? It was never going to be more than 6 at most, right? Yeah. So we were like, every one of these has to be something that if somebody wants to later, they can do something with it.
They can rock with it.
Yeah. So there's a whole long story about him. We had Todd and I were just talking. What if the lion and Achaia, the leader of the Dora, were lovers back in the day? And I was like, that's a whole even bigger spin. And it's not like the ideas and the stories go away just because I'm not on it, anymore. But yeah. So point 1, it wasn't Crete originally. It was just the coast in the Mediterranean. That got developed into being Crete and a specific date. And the lion, he's the lion. He gonna roar.
So he's originally not just a former Hatut Zeraze, but he was actually like the head of it. He trained many of those warriors.
Yes, this is a result of the development process. So a couple of things happen. Now remember, there's a room full of writers in Todd, and there's a representative of the Proximity Entertainment there as well, a producer from there as well, and Ryan Coogler's company. So we're all just banging ideas around. We'll get to it, but we had multiple ideas for each one of these, like multiple ways that the Lion could be in a story. There are multiple stories about the Lion, and this is the one we landed on. We're like, we're going to do this first. And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but can I ask you a tangential question?
Sure.
Because you mentioned Ryan Coogler's Proximity Group is there in the writer's room. How much say and power does Proximity Media and Ryan Coogler have over the Black Panther IP?
That's an interesting question. Power, the way people in the audience might think of it, is different than the way it works. Ryan made the company $1 billion point whatever dollars. The magic that created the Black Panther was completely unexpected by Marvel and Disney. Nobody understood it, and I don't think they understand it to this day. I just don't think they know whatever that was, whatever the secret sauce was. So the guy who brought them that, they want to make that dude happy, right? They don't want him to go off and take a job doing Batman. They don't want him to do Star Trek. They want you to keep your ass in that chair, and direct some more Black Panther stuff. So here's what we're going to give to you in order to make you do that. Mm-hmm. You're going to do the next 2 movies. Lock. Nobody else can touch them. They are yours. And if you got any other ideas about how to flesh this stuff out, we're about to go into streaming. Got any streaming ideas? Matter of fact, I was thinking about an Okoye show. I was thinking about this kind of show, right? Blah, 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 blah. Out of the left comes this random dude, Todd Harris, with a show we didn't think of. Want to do that too. Let's do that, right? But when it comes down to something that, let's say you're pitching a show, something that contradicts whatever it is Ryan's setting up in the movies, which is that's the king. The movies are king. So if you're going to establish something that's true in the continuity of the movies, but My Little Showdown here wants to do, I don't know, some Wakandans have wings, for no reason. Just some of them have mutant powers, whatever, right? Ryan's people are going to be, oh, no, they don't, because they're about to be fighting these Atlanteans, and they definitely don't have wings. So no, going to have to come up with something else. So they have a sort of veto power in that regard. If we wanted to do a particular plot line, let's say we wanted to do something that led up to, we're going to create the story of all the ancestors of Nakia. Now, right, there'd be a flat no, don't go that direction. We want to reserve that for Ryan, basically.
So they're in this writer's room with y'all, not necessarily for the creative aspect as much as the conflict check.
Yeah, it's to make sure we don't break the toy.
Yeah.
Right? Because writers' rooms get wild, dude. You don't even know. There are things we discussed, we went down so many rabbit holes, and all of it comes from the idea of how would this really work? These are the things that are established about Wakanda. We have a list of bullet points over how many years, since 1960, whatever. But if you think about what we've actually really been told about Wakanda, it adds up to about, 20 bullet points? We don't really know a lot, right? Then you get a room full of hyper-creative people going, well, if this is true, then why isn't that true? Makes perfect sense to me. Let's do it. And then, sadly, or not sadly, that's the downside, is that the people who run it, in this case it's Ryan and his people, and then above him Kevin, will be like, no, you can't. It's cool, but we're not doing that, right? Cool, and then you pivot to something else. But the other side of it is, especially with this episode, so we always knew the Lion was going to be an ex-Wakandan palace guard, Hatut Zeraze, something like that when we first conceived him. And the idea was that out in whatever reason he leaves Wakanda because he's disgruntled about being constrained. He didn't like the fact that I can't come and go at will. Screw it, I'm out. But when he forms his little alt Wakanda, which is what he was building, his own little version of Wakanda with him at the top, we wanted to, Todd is very much of big history and mythology buff, and all of us were too. So we really wanted to link, not just here's what was going on in Wakanda by itself with no reference point. We wanted to always tie it to something that people had going on out in the world. But we knew that he was going to be founding this little nation of his own, What would it be? What would be the cool thing to be? And we didn't want to paste it onto like, well, Egypt was really the lion. I hate stuff like that. Everybody in the room hates stuff like that. The Egyptians were cool in their own right. They did not need Wakandans to come in and make them cool, right? So we're not doing that, okay? The room had one day, actually less than half a day, where Ryan comes in himself, which never happened, right? Now, Todd was, I'm sure, in contact with Ryan all the time, but the writer's room did not see Ryan except for this one day. And he's like, I just learned about these people called the Sea People. They were just raiding all over the Mediterranean, and nobody knows anything about them. And we all looked them up. We all ran to Google. We were looking them up, and they're like, yeah, there's no information about them. Just out of the mist came this group of marauders who just wrecked it for everybody for like 50 years, and then they vanished. And nobody knows anything about them except that they did this. Who were they? Why were they doing this? What happened? Right? And we were like, done. We're using them. That's cool. That can be the lion.
So it's kind of partially based on a true story.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. There are Easter eggs you have to be a historian to get.
Wow.
Okay. But I'm saying, so yeah, they can say no to things, but would we have stumbled on the Sea People if Ryan doesn't come in that day? I don't know. Yeah. We might have made something up that was similar, but maybe not.
So let's talk about this Sea People. As you can see in this shot, going from left to right, you've got kind of a Middle Eastern, for lack of a better term, looking person. You've got a Nordic person with her pale skin over there, Celtic person.
Yep.
You've got someone, looks like he's from Maori or Polynesian, Aztec. And then you've got an Asian, Southeast Asian person or East Asian person over to the right. So you truly have, of this area, this part of the world, this ancient world, representatives across the spectrum.
Yes.
Talk about why you guys chose to do that.
Well, remember, everybody on the show was a live action writer. Even I, who does a lot of cartoons, I write live action primarily. I basically only did cartoons in my off time until Black Panther's Quest. I did them because the same reason I do comics, I just like them. Yeah. So when everybody else was like, vacation, I'm like, Ben 10, and it was sort of like that. So here we realized we only had 30 minutes to get a lot of information across in each episode. So in this case, we get out of the mouths of the characters, here's who the lion is, here's what he did. We sent a bunch of people after him, and none of them came back. Do you see any of those people in his army? Nope. So we know what happened to them.
Right.
They didn't come back anywhere. Okay. But it also tells you, just this shot tells you, one, how long he's been out,
right,
and how far he traveled to get his little thing going. And each one of these people theoretically had to be convinced. These people worship the lion. They don't just follow him because he's making them money. They worship him. Remember, the Wakandan technology, the stuff that the Wakandan technology can do, no one in the world has ever seen anything like this. No one's even imagined anything like this. This is like a guy came out of heaven and was like, no, we're going to do this. Zap! No, we're going to do this. Look at my weapon that does it. Like, they just never could, like, of course they worship him. Of course there's a cult around this guy, right?
And you notice in the portrayal of his soldiers, they're from across the spectrum. These are all different looking people.
That's right.
Black people, white people, brown people. He was forming his own Wakanda, but it was an inclusive Wakanda. Wakanda is very isolationist. And we'll talk about this a little bit more.
Yep.
Is one of the themes with Wakanda is that it's although it's super advanced, arguably it's also somewhat backwards in its isolationism.
We're going to have a long talk about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff back there.
That's important. That's an important parallel that this particular episode sort of talks about.
Yeah, and we were definitely bringing that out. We also, I don't know how to say this exactly right. We're all Black Americans. So we have a particular idea of how racism and all that stuff works because of our ethnic experience, our generational experience, and all that. But in fact, racism isn't a constant in humanity. It is actually relatively new. It didn't even exist until late 1400s, early 1500s. There's no concept of that. None. Okay.
This is 1260 BC.
Right. So, and you can tell that this is so, by the way. There are going to be people in the audience like, what's he talking about? Go and look it up. People were writing about the different groups of people they were running into. And yeah, they had conflicts with them, but it wasn't based on skin color. They didn't think of them as automatically inferior because they were brown or white or anything like that. It was class, and it was, you're standing on ground we want, or your girls are all hot and we're going to take them. It was never that. That was introduced by Europeans in a particular era, and you can clock the actual dates.
For economic reasons.
Exactly. And this is real. So, again, there's so much meta commentary going on with this that an African man, unhappy with his isolationist country and his role in it, goes out into the world and forms a multi-ethnic alternative nation. Theoretically, if they got big enough, they're going to come down there and do some business with Wakanda, right? And he puts it all together. He went around the world, right? There's no contact with the Maori in this era. I don't think there was any contact with Japan. By the way, that's a proto-samurai. Samurai didn't even show up for 1,000 years, right? Yeah. We made a point of his sword not being a katana. Like, little weird crap like that. And all of that is to show the time that he took to do it, the care that he took to do it, and his intentional manipulation of the fact that these people are all primitives by his standard.
Yeah,
these are all cavemen from his point of view.
Not just in terms of technology, but in terms of culture and
in every way.
And that's one of the things that's part of the carrot that he gives out to them. But this guy's no different than a Genghis Khan or an Alexander the Great. He's one of those type of figures who sees the world in a big macro sort of viewpoint and has a plan for shaping the world based on this image or vision he has in his head.
That's correct.
We have our character Noni, who is sent out by Wakanda, former Dora Milaje, who is asked and tasked by Wakanda to go seek this guy out and do what?
Noni. God, I love Noni.
Who's portrayed by
come on.
Anita Noni Rose, right?
No, Woody Harlow.
Woody Harlow.
Woody Harlow. Who knew? Like, I mean,
could act.
Like who knew? She can't just act. She brought the fire with her. Yeah. Holy crap! But yeah, so there's a whole thing about Noni. We went through a lot of different things about Noni. There was a scene we had to scrap where before they bring her in, there's a scene where they go get her because she'd been kicked out of the Dora. So she was just like living up in the mountains somewhere. They sent that little group of Dora to get her, and she's like, I don't know what y'all are doing up here. I don't know what it is, but you better take your butts home because they're about to get kicked. You know the rules. Don't come up here, right? And they're like, look, you need to come back with us. And she's like, okay, tick-tock, right? And then when you see them come in the room, Noni is beautiful and pristine, and all those doors are like black eyes, little bloody lips, all this kind of crap. But we had to scrap the original scene, so we couldn't show that. So, but basically, Noni is a younger person, obviously, than the Lion, who didn't go that way. She doesn't want to reject Wakanda, but as many of us are, I don't like you putting your freaking hands on my neck all the time. I can make my own decisions. I don't need you to tell me what to do all the time. Sometimes it takes so long to tell you what needs to do. It's better for me to just go do it, and then I'll take whatever punishment is. But did it get done, though? That's Noni. But it's done, right? Yeah, but you're supposed to do it with the other girls. Yeah, but it's done, though, right? It's like, I think you're missing the point here. You're going to have to go, right? So
better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
That's all Noni. And she's a free thinker, but she's an improvisational thinker, which isn't good for a group like the Dora. Every time you've seen the Dora fight in the movies, what do? They do these patterns. They work in unison. They basically lock their enemy. Now, they can absolutely fight one-on-one, but if there's more than two of them, that's your ass. That's your ass, right? And it's all based on unity of work, unity of everyone knows their position and they play it. That everybody knows the plan. They don't have to talk. They're silent. Wouldn't that be scary to fight a group of people and never have to give each other hand cues or say anything? They just know what to do in this situation and freaking do it. And this woman does a Magic Johnson no-look pass with her spear to her friend who just had her hand up and you didn't even know she was doing that. That's the Dora. But if you have a character like Noni who's like, well, I don't need all that passing and stuff. Just give me the damn ball.
Yeah.
Just give me the ball. 3 pointers. Let's go. Come on. Let's finish this game. I got places to be. That's Noni. So, but you can recognize talent in that. And that's why she was the perfect person to be sent after the last guy who went way too far to the left. We sent all the normal kind of soldier after him, and he trained them all, and he's better than them. They're not improvisational thinkers, right? They all did it by the book, essentially. So I know as soon as things go wrong for you, Noni, you're going to throw the book out the window and just go off. That's exactly why we sent you out there.
So well, here's the head of the Dora Milaje who sends her out.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool when you talk about Wakanda and how advanced Wakanda is, you got this television 1260 BC.
Well,
and they've got sand pouring from the stop, light showing, high definition screen.
Do you want to get into this right now?
Dude, that's why we're here, bro.
Listen,
I'm giving you props, man. You guys put some creativity in the show.
We thought about all this stuff, and there's a couple of things that'll come up over our conversation. Wakandans didn't exist when they found the Vibranium mound, right? At some point in prehistory, a meteor hits the Earth made out of vibranium, and at some point, millions, hundreds of thousands at least, because a strike that big would have wiped out all existing life. So it had to have happened basically before there was anything we would recognize as life. But at some point, Stone Age Africans find this thing. Multiple different groups of them find this thing. Now, in my world, in my mind, there's a big fight once they realize these rocks are magic. They don't know what they do exactly, but we know they glow and they do stuff to sound, and I think that's mine. So there would have been a big fight, out of which comes Bashenga. Nope, no more fighting. I'm the king. Wakanda. Right? Once they are Wakanda, that's 10,000 years ago. So by the time we meet the Wakandans in this story, 10,000 years ago is 8,000 years BC. So this story takes place in 1200 something BC.
Yeah.
Which means the Wakandans had a minimum of 6,000 years to mess with vibranium, to develop whatever technology they were going to build, to do whatever they were going to do. 8,000 years. Okay? Every big advance that humans have made that we recognize as advances, there are many great advances. In the last 150 years, we went from horse and buggy to boots on the frickin' moon.
Yeah.
We got an object beaming us pictures back out from outside our solar system now. We do that in a century and a half. And then the previous 9,000 years did not lead up to that. It was a jump start. And then whap! Right? Wakanda's jump start was vibranium, but they were Stone Age people when they found it. So it's going to take a minute for them to figure stuff out and start messing with it and doing stuff and blah, 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 blah. But that's thousands of years, man. They had thousands of years with nobody messing with them to just mess with this stuff. So by the time we get there, like I said, they're 6,000 years into their program by the time we meet them in this show. So of course they got stuff. Of course they do.
Really dope portrayal, man. So, we talk about this advanced society that the Lion's trying to create. And, he's got this more advanced technology, but he's saying, I'm going in this utopia, in this world I'm trying to create. He's a cult leader. He's got a cult of followers.
Correct.
He says, join me. I will expand your knowledge. I'll free your mind. I'll increase your wealth. I'll share knowledge that you never knew about. But here's the catch.
Yeah. You got to put this really cute gold chain around your neck real quick, though.
You kind of got to be a slave first.
Yes. And there's this whole branding process if you get a little bit too talkative. But don't worry about that. Just don't talk too much. Yeah.
You have to be completely subjugated to me in order for this to work.
Right.
You have to worship me.
He's a liar. He's a cult
Yeah.
leader. He just wants it his way, and he's got a really good sales pitch.
Yeah, it's not like Americans can appreciate that these days.
Yeah, yeah. I think most people in modern times can point at some figures like that. I'm not going to name any names, but yeah, and that was part of it too. Is that, I mean, there's so much baked into this stuff about Wakanda's philosophy and how do they see the rest of the world. You know, I always say this: the Roman Empire had one word for everything that wasn't Roman: barbarian. We still use it. And what does it mean? The uncivilized. That's all that it means. You are not civilized. You're not educated. You don't have science. You don't have medicine. You are uncivilized. To be civilized is to be Roman or to be Romanized. The Japanese, they have one word for people who are not us: gaijin. What does it mean? Barbarian, the uncivilized. We are civilized. We take baths. What are you all doing? We have actual medicine. What are you all doing with these leeches? What are you doing? You know, so if you have 6,000 years of isolation before you start digging into other people, and every time you deal with them, they're doing things like using leeches, not the right way, the way we do them now, but the old way where they thought they were fixing your brain, or they believe in stuff that we know is just not true, like the sky is not made out of hammered brass. We know that's not true because we got satellites. We've been up there. We release our planes. We know that heaven does not sit on the upper side of the clouds because we got balloons up there. There's just more clouds up there, right? How are you going to look at these primitive people around you who don't get better, really? They get incrementally better, you know, who spend a lot of their time murdering each other and taking each other's stuff. How are you going to look at them? You got thousands of years to look at the rest of the world, and every time you check in on them, what are they doing? Doesn't matter where you are.
So Noni's job is to basically take this guy out.
She doesn't know it, but yes, they knew she would kill him. Yes. Yeah, I'm not answering questions unless Paul gives me the questions, because otherwise I will keep breaking his flow.
Keep your questions coming. We're going to have a question and answer session at the end, and we'll get to all the questions in one shot. But just keep them going. Derek's keeping track of all your questions.
Thank you.
Noni, in essence, is there to take the dude out. Yes. And one of the things I appreciate about the show also, you didn't shy away from violence. Like, people get murked in this show.
Yeah.
Like it was. I'm like, this Disney? What's the rating on this?
I was surprised that people were surprised, but then I look at it like you said, it's Disney Plus, it's a cartoon. You know, I mean, it came out after Killer of Killers, so it got compared to that a lot, but it was done before. So we just thought, let me rephrase that. It was up to Todd how far to take it. The way we wrote it, we just wrote it. We wrote this like this was just a show. It never crossed our minds to write. The only thing we didn't do was swear. Like,
you kind of forget that it's an animated show at a point, because the action is on the same level as you would see in a live action film.
Go watch John Wick and then try to pick out the Todd Harris sequences. Go watch. Oh, here's a perfect example. Todd designed in Thor Ragnarok the arena scene where Thor fights the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Todd designed that sequence, and the Taika Waititi changed nothing. He just shot what Todd drew. We know this because he said it in an interview more than once. I just shot it. Okay.
Comic book artist or tomorrow's storyboarder.
That's the guy who was in charge of all this, and he directed this episode himself.
Right.
So,
then we have finally the confrontation between Noni and the lion. This is where things really get interesting for me, because this conversation between the two of them talks about what is Wakanda really, right? You got Lion trying to create his own Wakanda on Earth using outsiders, but using barbarians. And how do you tame those barbarians? But is by enslaving them. And she's like, oh yeah, you, with all your high-minded ideals, all you're doing is enslaving these people and being a charlatan and a poser as this godlike figure. And then he's like, how's Wakanda any different? because they're enslaving you not physically, but they're enslaving your mind. Because they're so isolationist, they don't even allow you to know what you don't know. Right? It's a philosophical debate.
Yep.
And you really realize that they're kind of flip sides on the same damn coin.
Yeah.
What he's doing and what Wakanda does. So I thought this was a really important scene. Can you talk about this a bit?
Well, the thing is, and it's a long ethical dilemma. Wakanda has an ethical problem, not in a out in the world political debate way. They literally are faced with an ethical problem. Once they hit a certain level of technology where they're clearly just so far advanced compared to their neighbors, right? They're like, okay, look what's going on out there. What do we do?
And great power, great responsibility debate.
Right. Like, what is it? There's a rule, right? We call it the duty to protect in modern terms. There's like literally an international law rule, I think, called duty to protect. But now remember, we're talking thousands of years before Noni and the lion meet each other, before they are born. Thousands of years ago, they already were like, we got these dirigibles, and none of these other people got dirigibles. And you can imagine nearby tribes going, did they just call lightning down into that stick? Who are these people, right? The logic, and by the way, we live in a universe where modern day Kenyans decided they were going to worship a mutant girl because she could control the weather, right? Like, first of all, I'm not going to get into a whole racism about what they thought modern day Kenyans were about, but back in the Stone Age and the Iron Age, that's a legit response. Right? You see these people rolling up, silently just appearing next to you and being able to do these effects that you and I would go, oh, they're talking to each other on their cell phones or whatever, right? They got weapons that shoot projectiles you can't see, and then there's a bullet explodes in all kinds of crazy stuff. We don't want them to worship us. We know we're not gods. We know we're not gods. We know we're just people with good technology that we developed. What are we going to do? Plus, we know all the bloodshed that was shed over just taking the Vibranium mound and forming Wakanda. Do we want that writ large over the world? Because once other people realize what's down here, we don't know that there's not more out there. That's a whole tangent you could do, sending Wakandans out to see if there's more Vibranium out there. I assume they would have done that at some point, right? But the dilemma is, first dilemma, we have to keep secret because the people around us, they will start to worship us, and that will corrupt both them and us. We will become corrupted by that too. We don't want them worshiping us, and we can't make them be us. That's not fair to them, right? You can't have a Hosa come to a Zulu and go, yeah, that's cool, but we got a truck, so you're going to come be Hosa now. Forget all your traditions. You're going to come have our traditions now. It's not ethical to do that to somebody else just because you have better tech. So that would be the first dilemma. The second dilemma is actually worse as you get further. We haven't even got to the transatlantic slave trade yet, obviously. But as nations and empires start to grow in Africa and elsewhere, bloodshed, wholesale bloodshed between what used to be tribes are now much bigger than just one tribe. Right? Well, again, Wakandans already had these fights 4,000 years ago, and their resolution to that was to band together and form Wakanda with all these little tribes with a cycle and a spiritual system and all this stuff. This didn't get worked out in a freaking cocktail party. This was thrashed out with blood. This was thrashed out by making mistakes. It just happened thousands of years ago, and we haven't seen that story yet. There's a whole Game of Thrones about the founding of Wakanda that could be told, and should be, I think, because it would make it less, they will seem less alien if you saw it that way. So they have this first ethical dilemma. And the second ethical dilemma is, do we stop these wars? These local ones, these Africans versus Africans. Well, again, the way to do it would be come in and show superior force, right, and make them stop killing each other. But did anyone do that to us? We worked it out. It was horrible, but we worked it out. Maybe you have to go through that. Maybe you have to burn. Maybe everyone who needs to learn this lesson actually has to learn it themselves. We can't make them learn it. So we can sit back and hope they learn it. And sometimes they don't. There are whole civilizations we don't know anything about because another civilization wiped them the fuck out. Okay? And the Wakandans watch that. And they're like, oh, shit. Okay, now they seem a little steady. Cool. They've discovered the wheel. You know, they got commerce. They're doing their wheat thing. They built that library in Timbuktu. That's good for them. Great. You know, cool. And then empire building, right? The Muslims come down sub-Sahara. The Christians come down sub-Sahara, all carrying swords. What do we do? You know, what do we do? And then it starts to get thorny for the Wakandans because, again, remember, there's about 1.5 million Wakandans, and some of them are going to be like, we need to go out there and kick these fools' butts. Make them stop. Look what we can do. Look, give me 60 guys and a couple of Uzis. I'll wrap this up in a week. A couple of grenades, right? I'll wrap up this whole Roman Empire crap in a week, right? Like, sit down, and Ketty. We've heard your. We get it. We know you can do it. Just relax. The problem is what happens on day 2. What are we doing on day 2? You're going to go stop them moving down here today.
Day 2 is slavery.
Right. But not necessarily, but it means like, are we going to set a Wakandan fort on this borderline and go, don't cross this line or else? Who's going to man that fort? Remember, Dora Milaje, Hatut Zeraze, Black Panther. Everybody else just a citizen.
Right.
Of 1 million people, 1,000,005 people, there's like maybe 1,000, and I'm being generous, maybe 1,000 people equipped to fight like that. Maybe. Okay. So are we going to draw a line across the middle of, like, between upper and lower Africa? Don't cross this line or else Wakanda's going to get you? Are you up for that? Are our people up for that? Are they going to want to sign up for that? Probably not. I guess we're going to have to let the outsiders thrash it out some more. You know, they're still well behind us. They can't hurt us. I think it starts turning into, we have to make sure they never get access to what we've got. Because look what they're doing with what they've got. They got nothing compared to what we've got, and they're doing some crazy shit. Okay? Yeah. So again, time goes on, and then you bump up against the transatlantic slave trade. A lot of people are making a lot of noise about that right now. Why? The Wakandans are kind of bastards for doing this, but I say the same thing to you. Yeah, at that point, they probably had jets. Wakandans probably had jets, right? They definitely had, projectile weapons. They had telecommunications. They had all kinds of stealth technology. By the way, their stealth technology must be beyond anything anyone's ever thought of. A ninja would be like, oh, dear God, can I come and live at your house? Right? But the question will continue to remain. Are we going to enforce Pax Wakanda on this planet? These are gigantic nations where we could kill all the slavers, burn the boats, no bodies. So from the point of view of the people who sent them, our ships just disappeared. They send some more ships. We kill all of them and burn those boats. And that the message will go, okay, don't send those ships down there. Something's going on. What the hell? Right? Except, one, they're Africans, West Coast Africans, helping those dudes get their product from the interior. Are we going to kill all of them, our neighbors? Are we going to extend Wakanda up the coast? And it's all that's now Wakanda? Because that's how we're going to make them stop. We're going to have to make them stop. Or, says another guy in the council chamber, we don't have to do it like that. Why don't we just send one agent each, and 2 agents, one with weapons, right, and one to do the speaking, to the Queen of England, King of Spain, King of Denmark, or to say, yo, keep this shit up, and wham, and they just destroy the palace. And this is what will happen to you. And then we just go home. They won't fuck with us anymore, I promise you. After all of them see the same display, and Versailles is actually gone, it won't be a magic trick, it's really gone, they'll be like, okay, we probably ought to leave them alone. Except that's not what will really happen. We've been watching them for thousands of years. What would they really do? They would pretend like they're going along with it. And then they'd spend the next 500 years figuring ways to get at us. They might not win on the first few tries, but they only got to do it once, right?
Right.
And also, what does that do to us? What are we doing? Right? Doing all of this. What do we become? What does Wakanda become? Pax Wakanda means we're the Roman Empire. We are using our force to control the activities on this planet according to what we think they should be doing. Now, right now, that's the right thing, you say, in this council chamber. Right now, we're stopping predation. We're stopping horrors. Yes, you're right. And if we could just make it stop, I would say yes. Go do it and make them stop. But there are millions and millions of them out there. Millions and millions. They can throw bodies at this problem for centuries. and there's only 1.5 million of us, we won't win. The math is not on our side.
And so Wakanda institutes these rules,
Right.
these governing guidelines for their society and culture. They're rationalizing the basis of their isolationism, their secrecies,
Yep.
And recovery of these artifacts of their technology.
That is correct. That is correct.
Here's a little foreshadowing of an artifact that will prove to be important later on, that is not able to be recovered by her.
Now, remember, these particular war dogs, the war dogs as we're making them in the NCU, they're all of a particular temperament. Average Dora Milaje can't do it. Average Wakandans can't do it. Palace guards can't do it. You have to have the kind of mind that isn't broken by being outside Wakanda.
Right.
And you can also return to Wakanda and fit back in the flow.
Right. You really have to be a super loyal Wakandan. You really have to have bought in fully to what Wakanda means and the rules that they have.
That's why Kaya says we can't draft you. You have to volunteer.
Right. And she does.
Yeah.
She does volunteer, and she joins this new sect of the Hatut Zeraze known as the War Dogs for all intents and purposes. At that time. Interestingly enough, in this battle she had with Lion, she ultimately loses her right eye. And I thought, well, is this Nick Fury joining and forming S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because she becomes the Nick Fury of Wakanda.
I can't claim that. Todd did that after we were gone. When we left, when I put Moni down, she had 2 eyes.
She had 2 eyes.
But it's not a bad move, and it's Todd's show, so he can do what he wants.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. Legends and Lies. Next episode. Episode number 2.
Yes, sir.
Taking place during the battle between Greece and Troy, which is like 12.
Don't try to place it. It didn't actually occur. It's a myth.
Mythological war.
It really happened. Right. So sometime in the Bronze Age, this happened.
What's interesting about this particular myth, for those who may not have seen the movie Troy or read the history or myths or stories about this, the idea is that you had Troy, you had Greece, enemies, what have you, but the princess of Greece is kidnapped by the prince of Troy, taken back to Troy against her will. It's a big dishonor to Greece. And so the Greece said, we're going to go to war to recover our princess because you have dishonored us. Not realizing that the prince and the princess are actually in love, and she actually went willingly.
Right.
Now, with the Greeks, they send their best of the best of their soldiers, including Odysseus.
That's my man.
Who has a movie coming out soon, by the way.
I love Odysseus.
When we talk about, and this is a concept I talk about all the time. When we talk about what comics are, what comic books are, there are modern day fables, right? Fables were important back in the day. Characters like Beowulf, Anansi, and this guy, Achilles, are some of the greatest fables of all time. They are superheroes of their day. When people said, what I want to grow up to aspire, what I want to aspire to grow up to be someday, have these traits, have these superhuman traits. I want to be like, Odysseus, through his brilliance. I want to be strong and fierce like Achilles. I want to have the ability to shape my reality and like of Anansi. This is where our comic books come from. This is where our superheroes come from. Achilles, for all intents and purposes, is Steve Rogers of his time.
Yeah.
He's a super soldier.
He's Captain Grease.
He's Captain Grease
Yeah.
in every sense of the imagination. And I love the way that you guys portrayed him in the story. When you see him battle, there's no difference between him and Steve Rogers in the way that he approached, the way he talks to his men.
Nope.
And inspires leadership. The way that he fights all by himself. You know, he leads. He is literally Captain America.
Yeah. That's not accidental.
Then you show he has this friendship. Again, this is before, as you said, this is before the concept of racism exists. Cultures that it was not a big deal for cultures to intermingle. People from one nation to go to another part of the world and join that culture. It was not unusual for that to happen. And then we have the character of Memnon. Talk about this, because that's an actual character from these stories.
Todd always wanted to do this. This, I think, was the story that I think got his mind spinning to create what became Eyes of Wakanda.
Yeah.
One of the things that were interesting about Marvel Comics, and you say about the sort of myth escape that they exist in, is that the original Iliad, we played fast and loose with it. Achilles is dead before they breach the wall. Mm-hmm. He's not killed by Memnon. I believe he's killed by Hector. No, he's killed by... I'll think of it. Doesn't matter. We changed the timeline, obviously, because the timeline is just a story. Everything you know about the Iliad comes from the writer of the Iliad. There are no independent corroboration, right? But what we thought was, what Todd thought was, wouldn't it be fun to place Wakandans in these pivotal points in human history with this rule that they can't affect, they can't change anything, right? So they're there, but it's not like Memnon won the battle. He did not. Yeah, Paris. Thank you. Paris killed. Thank you, everyone. I'm getting old. Thank you very much. The Memnon didn't win the battle. He did not breach the wall. He did not create the Trojan horse. Odysseus did that, just as he did in the myth. Paris is the same little. What the kids call him, the same little fuckboy he was in the story. That's exactly what Paris is here. Okay. And the relationships were good fodder for the difference between a fish story and what actually happened, right? So we have a universe in where Thor is a real guy who walks around in the world, a real guy. But real Thor is a big stupid lunk who's kind of built like the Hulk, red-haired, full beard, and the reason Loki gets over on him is he's stupid. Thor's dumb, right? Our Thor looks like Chris Hemsworth before Chris Hemsworth showed up, only with really long hair.
Yeah.
Right? So Marvel's already set us up where we can play with these myths and legends and do essentially what we wish to do with them. And what this story is about is the toll that it takes to be a spy, to be undercover. What do you have to do to be in deep cover, right? You've already seen this movie. It's called Deep Cover. You've already seen this movie. It's called Serpico, right? You've already seen what happens to the cop who goes under and gets too deep and starts really liking and identifying with the people he's rolling with, and he forgets the mission until the last minute. Oh, yeah, the mission. Damn. Okay, got to do the mission, right? Well, again, we had 30 minutes each one of these episodes, so this went through so many variant, like, Mark wrote the hell out of this, by the way. When I say we built it, we built the story. The writer writes the script.
Shout out to Mark Bernardine.
Mark, but he did the thing with this. So, and we went back and forth about what is the toll all this takes? Who are these actual people, right? It's great when it, like, we only have, I keep saying this, we only had 30 minutes to get these subtleties across. So we choose a crux point, we condense the Trojan battle to its essence, right? We mention it's taken a decade to get to this point, but we like Achilles. And the idea even says legends are the stories told by people who never will never did to people who never will. Here's what really happened, kids.
Right.
And
you're throwing a bit of the fantastic, because Memnon is actually Baki, a Wakandan spy,
right,
who is charged with recovering an artifact, which just so happens to be in the possession of the crux of the entire friggin' Greek Trojan War.
It. Damn it! Right. But also, even with this, remember, all these stories went through a lot of permutations. There was a whole thing where we tracked Memnon's journey, right? Story-wise, we're like, he's been out here 9 years. So he looked more Wakandan when he left. And by the time he gets here, he is like, he's gone native, full native. Yeah. Right? These are his boys. He's been saving lives. His lives been getting saved. You know, I mean, I've never been to war, but my dad was. Like, when his surviving Vietnam vet friends would show up, that was like my uncles showed up. That was like, and they were white and Latin, and they were just different dudes, you know. But whatever they went through that they never talked about with the kids, that's a bond you don't break.
Bond for life.
Right? That's what we're trying to get at here. And I think Mark did the thing. I mean, I think he did the thing.
You immediately realize that he's a little different than everyone else when he starts pulling out his own Wakandan tech.
Yeah.
Because the whole crux is recovering this artifact, which is in the possession of Helen of Troy. He's got his binoculars, which has this super range finding, vibranium finding tech. I don't even know what you call it. But no one else knows he's there on this mission.
Right.
They do their attack. He's wounded. He even has his ability to heal himself with this little spray. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff.
We
has his own little text device before text devices even existed.
Look, if they don't make something like this for the kids, they are missing a trick. Like,
yeah, you guys have all the toys. But you have a lot of merch material in this series.
We went really hard in the paint for where are they in their technological development. Like, we spent easily hours. That's what I'm saying, Kevin. That's exactly right. That there's so much here. There's so much here.
You and I are old enough to remember how you used to have like the secret decoder rings back in the day. The stuff that come in a Cracker Jack box, or stuff that was in the back of the old comics that you could send $1 in the mail to and get.
X-ray specs. X-ray specs.
X-ray specs. That's what this device reminds me of. When you're putting in the little codes and it's, they're talking back to him. This device reminds me of that.
Yeah. And it was like, it also shows you that we're not just giving Wakandans technology that's, I recognize that. That's a cell phone. No. They develop their own technology based on access to an element that no one else in the world has.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not magic. It's just we don't understand how their tech works because none of us have ever seen anything like that. Right?
This is dope stuff.
Yeah, we had a ball. Also, I love Odysseus. So anything with Odysseus in it, I'm here for it.
We Odysseus goes ahead and makes the brilliant decision of the Trojan Gambit, the Trojan horse. They enter into battle. Achilles quickly realizes his boy is out doing something else. He's swarmed. His boy finally catches up to Paris and Helen, and he manages to accomplish his mission and get the artifact back. Achilles, he lets them go, which Achilles felt some type of way about.
Well, he didn't care about that. I'm here for my thing. I got to go home now. I'm not trying to kill these two lovers. I don't care about this. But that's the thing. When you realize what the actual mission is, it's kind of like everything else falls away.
Now, this courtyard, I mentioned before the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. This courtyard looked almost identical, if I recall the movie correctly, to what I saw in that film. And I thought that was kind of cool.
I don't know if they did that on purpose, but they're definitely drawing from the same source material. So maybe, I don't know. Todd he's a magpie for different art styles and different particular creators. He was pulling names out. I was like, I don't even know who that is. Like, I don't know who that is, and I should. How do you know? Like, anyway.
What's also apparent in this scene, Achilles, who, as I said before, He's a fabled, for all intents and purposes, superhero of his time.
Yep.
He is a super soldier. He is the Steve Rogers of his time. He gets into this fight with Memnon, Baki, and Baki's hand-to-hand is right up there as with Achilles. He defeats Achilles in battle.
Yes, but remember, the Achilles of myth is not the real guy. That's the Achilles of myth. The real guy is this guy, the greatest fighter, absolutely. He's more like Batman. He's not a super soldier, right? He's the absolute best in all of Greece, by far, but he's not indestructible. If your body was impervious, would you wear armor? You would not. You would walk around.
He's not impervious.
Right? But I'm saying, so what we're trying to do, and maybe half hour wasn't enough to get this entire thing across. These are just two men. Memnon and Memnon has no superpowers. Achilles has no superpowers. They're the apex fighters of both of their cultures, right? So Batman versus Bronze Tiger is actually probably a better analogy, right? And what Achilles has is, I'm just ridiculously good, and Memnon has an equalizer in that Wakandan sleeve, right? Yeah. Achilles has his weapons, his sword, and his shield, and Memnon has the Vibranium sleeve. And it's still a fight. It's not like Memnon wasn't in a fight, right? Like, that was a fight. Achilles could have won that fight. Yeah. Right? So, and the idea is that he's forcing Memnon to be more and more ruthless because he won't stop, right? And like, there's things that you could get across if these were actual men and fighting in a live action movie, you would be able to see expressions on their faces that animation can't really provide. But there's a point in this fight, theoretically, where Memnon realizes, oh, dear God, he's just not going to stop. He's going to make me do this. And he says, please don't make me do this. But I'm going to freaking do it. So please don't make me, because if it's your ass or this device, it's going to be your ass. Okay? Sorry, buddy. Wakanda forever, man.
It's cool that you stuck to the myth and actually had him cut Achilles' heel.
Right.
Is his one weakness noted in fabled times.
All of these are the points in the myth, in the legend, right? The idea of the story is, as we say, Paris is supposed to have killed Achilles. Well, we know Memnon killed Achilles because we just saw him do it. We saw Memnon let Paris go. So who told that story? Are you going to tell the story of the black giant who murdered your greatest warrior and then vanished into the night? No. You're going to tell the story about the guy who started all this being a bastard and killing him that way, right?
Makes for a better story.
Exactly right. And it's also less sort of epic, right? Our version is not quite so epic. It's just two soldiers. The death of Achilles in the I guess it's an epic poem of the Iliad is epic. It's horrifying, but it's epic, right? So, I think people get a little precious with these things, like they're real historical events, or Achilles was a real dude. He wasn't. He's something Homer made up.
Just like Stanley and Jack Kirby.
Exactly. Homer was the Stan and Jack of his day.
Right. So Baki goes back to Wakanda. This is like 6 months later or so, 9 months later. And he's having a conversation with Noni, who is now the elder stateswoman of the Hatut Zeraze. She is, at this point, the Nick Fury with the patch and the gray hair and have you. I love that particular sort of viewpoint being shared here. And she kind of asked Emil, as you mentioned, these war dogs are a breed apart because they have to be able to maintain their loyalty to Wakanda and its values while being abroad for extended periods of time. And this scene is interesting because she's kind of sort of questioning and trying to probe him a bit to see, are you still Wakandan? Are your loyalty still to Wakanda? How are you adjusting to being back here? He's like, it's kind of difficult, to be honest. I've been out there for a while. I'm still loyal to Wakanda, but I can't really stick around here. Just send me out on my next mission.
Yeah.
That was the point to end this. Yeah. Not, hey, Wakanda forever, and then just keep it moving. It's like, I'm loyal to Wakanda, but you need to just throw me back out there because I
The other
can't.
thing is, Noni sort of makes a similar choice in her episode, but for different reasons, right? She's like, I'm going to stay on this mission till I get all these artifacts back, right? This time, it's I don't have a place. The only place I'm actually me is when I'm out in the world chasing artifacts. That's all I've got left. I have nothing here, and the person I loved out there is dead. So, what have I got? Except I have nothing left but the mission, basically. And I think we all felt, and I feel it's tragic. I think there's a cost. This is a cost that you pay when you're a patriot of that level. We don't see a family gathered around him. He doesn't have any kids. So he's not integrating back into society. He's good at being undercover. Okay.
Episode 3, Lost and Found. China, 1400 AD. We're right on the cusp. We're still about a little less than 100 years before Christopher Columbus does his epic trek across the Atlantic Ocean in search of a path to the Indies.
Yep.
We have this agent. Oh, what's his name? Is
Basha.
Basha. In China, he's with this woman. Like, already establishing who he is. It's like, oh, this guy's a little player. He's hanging out in China. He's got a girl. Goes on his mission. Everything goes according to plan. All it's described as China. It doesn't say what city or town in China. It just says China. Right?
Yeah. Well, we're not doing Kunlun. That was not Kunlun.
Kunlun
is an extra dimensional place. I know that it's not. I think people are frowning upon this, but Kunlun's in Tibet. The gateway to Kunlun is in Tibet. So, but because of the way China is dealing with Tibet these days, let's fudge that a little bit. From
that's what I wanted the explanation on. Okay.
Yeah. So, easier way to sidestep it is this is some sort of Kunlun outpost. It's grown up into this town. For whatever reason, Jirani is in this outpost town right now. Like, if we were telling her story, I could come up with a billion reasons why she's not in Kunlun right now.
Yeah.
Simple. In fact, there's a whole story just to tell why she's not in. Whatever that is, there's a reason why she's not literally in Kunlun right now. Cool. So, I mean, somebody go write that. Jirani's great. Go write her a story. I'm here for it. I'll buy it.
One of these episodes can be continued very easily.
Oh, my God. So this was our comedy episode, obviously. We want to do something light because the last one was pretty dark. And the first two were pretty, like face up to the glass type of stories. And we want to do a sort of James Bond, love him and leave him, get the job done, go home, take all the praise. I'm the man.
Not just any James Bond, Roger Moore James.
Yeah, Roger Moore James Bond, or Eddie Murphy James Bond. Like we picture like a Coming to America type movie happened before this. Right before the end of before this episode started, where Basha just shows up. Basha just shows up, and he's just that dude, man. He's like, most of my stuff works, and when it doesn't, I improvise. Yeah, it's all about Basha, right? And it does. It works just the way those are the typical Basha mission. Typical Basha mission. The only problem was don't mess with the Iron Fist, dude. You don't want none of that. Right. If
he steals the statue of Shao Lao because he can't get this Wakandan piece of vibranium out of the mouth.
Correct.
So he just steals it. And he hops into the airplane. One of the things the comments you made before is, Wakandans, during the transatlantic slave trade, had jets. Here's his jet. Clearly, the technology was there. The power of flight. 500 years before the Wright brothers?
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. By the way, this isn't their first jet. Right. That's not their first design.
Right.
They've been having airplanes.
Yeah. This isn't their introduction to flight.
Right.
This is not just their flight. They're in a jet, a transatlantic jet.
This. We have mastered this. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what can I tell you about it? We went through a whole lot of stuff. We were always going to do the sort of rom-com version of Jeroni and Basha. There are a couple in our minds that just keep the story we would tell about them is they both have missions and they keep bumping up against each other, and they both have to go home at the end of the mission. Right?
I wonder in the design of the jet, because it kind of the way the wings are, it kind of looks like a bird. Because you got to think, nobody knows that people can fly at this point. They have to, and I didn't see them really do a stealth thing on the jet. I don't remember.
And why would you? Right.
They just made it look like a bird, so he flies really high. You wouldn't distinguish it from a bird by the design. Was that intentional?
I can't say that, but I guarantee you that's how Todd thinks. So I'm going to say yes. I wasn't there for that, but there's almost no way that wasn't the thinking.
Okay.
So of course he has his supervisor.
Is he a supervisor though?
I mean, he's the ground operator, right? But you can see what we were doing, and it was just for fun.
This was like a buddy cop comedy.
Exactly that. Exactly. Literally, that's all that was. We wanted to have some fun. We had I guess there's a little bit of backstage. Here's what happens. There are, I think, 3 or 4 different versions of the Jeroni and Basha story.
Yeah.
A couple of them took place entirely in China, or almost entirely in China. The problem was the things that we wanted to do with some of the characters we wanted to bring in, we got vetoed. Not by Ryan's people, but by Marvel. Occasionally they would be like, nope, can't use them. We got something going on with them, right? I think we got turned down on using one of the Eternals at one point. I definitely know we talked about using young Ancient One. We wanted to show the Ancient One as like a teenager. But
wow.
But these are little ideas that just come up. They're not. Sometimes they get nipped so early that they don't even become full stories. But we definitely wanted to do the Bosch and Jeroni thing, and there is a series of motion pictures in an alternate universe where it's just damn, you call him you again. Like everything is you again. Because remember, Basha was in China. He doesn't know a damn thing about Kunlun.
Right.
So who's got the more secret society now, Basha?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Right? So you could these two just bump up against each other. And by the way, Iron Fist is, as you saw in the episode, Iron Fist is a Black Panther Captain America class fighter. None of these people are that class. They're great, but they ain't in that weight class. This is Iron Fist, man.
So going back to the archives. So you mentioned the spirit archives that you had in your X-Force 2.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the archives of what happens, because at this point, the Hatuts we've seen a few hundred years of the Hatut Zeraze at this point, right? And here's the artifacts, and even some of the artifacts that we've seen. Here's the necklace from Helena Choi in the background.
Mm-hmm.
You see some of the other weapons that they have collected. Here's their commissioner. And there's the mask. There's the lion's mask.
Yep. Well, the idea was, and I don't think this got fully conveyed in the first episode, and, things get lost in the shuffle in terms of design. The idea was that the lion took, like, a lot of stuff. Like, a lot. So when he blows up the throne ship at the beginning, what we envisioned was, or at least initially envisioned was, not just those 2 or 3 pieces that Noni tries to grab and misses, but that all around her, all these pieces are going down into the depths of the Mediterranean. So many. Like he had thousands of things, right? Which would justify, oh, damn. And they went to the bottom of the Mediterranean. It's not like the Wakandans, I mean, theoretically, I guess they could build a sub and march it from Wakanda up through Africa to the Mediterranean at that point, and then do some sort of stealth operation to dredge the bottom of maybe, but how long would all that take? By the time you got there, all those pieces would have been pushed around by the tides to wherever they went, right? So that's what happened. And this is the ones that have been recovered so far. There's still a lot out there.
Because of the time spans, I'm always questioning, like, what could have happened in between these episodes. if I'm looking at this picture here, just slightly to the right in the background of where the lion's mask is an object that kind of looks like the axe head.
Yeah.
That's kind of that issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm wondering if that was thrown in there to say, hey, maybe they had recovered the axe and then lost it again.
Okay,
I don't know.
You're thinking like a freelance writer right now. That's not something that I would necessarily catch. I would say, because I'm like, oh, that's just another piece that sort of resembles the axe. But you come in, you pitch me a story, and you go, no, that was the original axe, and somebody borrowed it for some reason, right?
And it got lost.
And then one of our guys, one of the war dogs, actually re-lost one of those pieces. Now, that's a whole story you could tell, right? And I would love to tell that story. These are human beings, fallible, what do you call it, emotional, sometimes venal. They're regular people. I mean, they're Wakandans, but they're still people, right? They're not all paragons of virtue, clearly, and they don't get everything right, clearly, which is part of what this show is supposed to show. Technically, Dasha lost.
We lose all these artifacts, comes across the Iron Fist. They have no idea who the Iron Fist is. Great job on the fight scenes with the Iron Fist and all of, because I love how Captain Ebo says, hey, I'm locking you in with our finest warriors. And she like dissects these guys.
Oh my God. She went through them like paper. But
without even using the Iron Fist.
We went around and around about that because we wanted to save the Iron Fist. It's essentially a lethal weapon when you're using it against people, right? Like you use it against Dr. Doom, fine, but a regular guy, it's just going to shred him. So, but also the Iron Fist as a character, whoever is the Iron Fist, I want to always remind everybody, I don't know what Marvel plans to do in the MCU, but the way you get to be the Iron Fist, before you're the Iron Fist, you beat all of the other warriors in your city-state, and then you fight a dragon hand-to-hand and win. That's before you get the Iron Fist. Okay? Then you get the Iron Fist, and you're the city defender. Okay? Those war dogs did not stand a chance. That's like Captain America in that elevator. They had no shot.
Right.
Okay? And nor did Basha. Basha had to resort to weapons. Like, that was not a fist fight.
So I love to do the backstory. A little bit of a love story here.
Mm-hmm.
Found you out in the snow, which kind of raises the questions: what was he doing out in the snow? What led to him finding? Was it intentional that he was trying to get her to find him, or was he? Or did she truly find him as he was trying to break in? And
see, I like the way your brain works because for me, Basha manipulated her. He probably scouted it out, saw this hot chick, knows she walks the perimeter sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna go lie in the snow real quick. Is my mic working? Please tell me my mic's working.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
But yeah, like I love Basha. And I think Mark was the perfect person to write Basha. My sense of humor is a little bit meaner, and this needed a lighter touch than I have. So, but yeah, there's a rom-com version of an adventure rom-com, just series of these two, like once a year, an Iron Fist annual, where Jeroni bumps into Basha in the middle of some nonsense, and it's always nonsense, right?
Of all of these episodes, this is the one I think has the most legs to be a whole nother series.
Sure.
Of stories with these three characters.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
He
goes out in the field now. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, like the three of them, that is a straight up buddy cop series, trekking around the world, doing all types of stuff.
I always thought, now here's the thing, being a comic book head, Stan and Jack, mostly Stan. Jack was way more creatively. He had more going on. Stan did the same thing a lot. So he has a lot of secret cities, a lot of subterranean, empires. One of the things that we had to deal with this episode was, again, this has come up with I'm not going to watch it if Black Panther's not in it. If the Black Panther appears in this show, it becomes the Black Panther show by definition. Doesn't matter which Black Panther. As soon as the Black Panther shows up, the show's about the Black Panther. Because, of course it is. If Batman shows up, it's about Batman. If Superman shows up, it's about Superman. Sorry, Cap shows up. So everybody's literally going to swivel and watch Cap until he leaves. Oh, right, it's a Spider-Man movie. Right? Is Cap coming back? Right? So we had to make it clear. There was a lot of discussion. We went down a whole rabbit hole of, she busts out into, I don't know, burning whatever. Doesn't matter. And she's running through the streets. And I'm like, she can't do that. And the other writers were like, she can never get out of the War Dogs headquarters, because if she's out on the street in Wakanda, that means by definition someone non-Wakandan got into Wakanda.
They've invaded, yeah.
Immediately the Black Panther must get involved, and also they have to kill her.
Right. They
have to. There's no memory erasing. There's no Men in Black nonsense. So they find her, they got to kill her. And we didn't want any of that. We didn't want to go in any of that direction. And this show is not about the Black Panther, so we're not doing that.
I loved her reaction to seeing Wakanda. The awe, because this is someone who has her own secret city that she's from. Yep. And for her to have awe over seeing Wakanda is significant.
Think what Basha would do in Kunlun, though. Yeah. Remember, from Jirani's point of view, she saw this guy in the snow, chased him back out into the snow. He gets in this weird thing that I've never seen before. While I'm searching around in it, the back door slides up closed. It rumbles.
And it flies.
No, she doesn't know that. There's no windows in the bottom part of it.
Oh, true.
Right? So however long this thing takes, let's say it took an hour, be more than that, but it took an hour to get from China to Wakanda. She feels it landing, doesn't know what it is, her body. What is my body doing? Well, no one's ever experienced this. She lands, the door opens. There's a whole bunch more brown people wandering around doing stuff. There's more objects like the one I just got into, but I'm definitely not in those mountains anymore. I'm definitely not in China anymore. What is this shit? Right? And then she sees this. Now, if there were a show, then what you would obviously do is at some point, Basha gets to have the same reaction to Kunlun, only it's magic.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, and poor Ebo. I just picture Ebo just picking up after these two all the time. They never gives me credit. Yeah. No, there's a show. There's definitely a show.
This is definitely a show.
Yeah.
Fight scenes excellent. I see a electronic board behind that reminds me of something from Star Trek.
Holy crap! That's if you didn't slow that down, I would have never seen that. That's amazing. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time preparing for this.
Well, they think deeply about this stuff. The designers, I didn't know any of them, but there's no way they weren't as deep into this as we were as writers, as you can see.
The detail is amazing.
Look at that.
When you got to watch it a few times to really pick up on everything.
Yep.
Funniest moment. So let me get this straight. You invaded my country, faked a relationship with me, cut off my statue's head, flew to another country. I don't even know how you fly, by the way.
Right.
All because you wanted to take this one little thing.
Yep.
Blink. Here.
Well, wait a minute. She had to fire up the Iron Fist to get it off.
I know, but still the concept was blink. Here, take it. I don't even care. I just want my statue back.
Yeah, I'm taking my statue home. Nobody cares about the tongue. Are you stupid? But yes, I'm stupid. Look, it was supposed to be fun and funny. That's the whole point.
It was funny. That was a great moment. I laughed a lot.
But the other thing that's underneath it is, again, Basha's a big fat liar.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we made light of it in this episode, but even the way he wins is a lot. Right? He is not. I guess he's a good man. No, he's a nice man. Everyone likes Basha. He's always smiling, happy guy, but he's not a good man exactly because of all the stuff he did to get us here. You don't forget how we got here. He basically pretended to be this girl's man for long enough that she would fall asleep trusting him, and he'd sneak out and steal his thing, which is what I came here for in the first place. So he's not like, it's not like she's a bad guy. She's just a temple guardian from his point of view. There's nothing wrong with her. So Bosch is kind of a dick, right? He's lucky he didn't get his face punched in with the Iron Fist. Like, and that's fine. It's okay. We want to show the Wakandans are humans, right? They're not these paragons of perfect virtue. And the job that these particular Wakandans do messes with you. Or you're already the wrong kind of person to fit in a regular society. How long will Basha last just walking the streets of Burning Zana? Like, what girl's putting up with his nonsense? None. Not one Wakandan woman is going to put up with that. Okay? So.
This is probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So, the last episode. The Last Panther. The Last Panther. We are introduced to Ethiopia, city of Adwa, 1896.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we talked before about how Todd did a story in Marvel Voices, Wakanda Forever, that took place 1 year prior to this in Ethiopia.
Yep.
So I don't know if, there's MCU canon, there's comics canon. I don't know if the two mix, but Todd wrote, was involved in both, so I'll say that they're tied together. I don't know.
Todd came first. Todd got this gig after we'd already done this.
Right.
But he told me about it, and my first question was, is it going to step on our episodes? He's like, no, I read it. It's fine. Right? And he's still, again, in the animation part, which by definition means there are going to be lines changed. There's going to be stuff shifted around for time. Things look different on the page than they do when you actually animate it, et cetera, et cetera. So I just said, okay, Todd says it's cool, it's cool. But this writer, whose name I don't know, came up with this on their own. That was just the story that they were going to do. Todd was surprised. He's like, you won't believe this. He literally was like, you're not going to believe this. And I was like, what? He's like, Ethiopia. And I was like, oh, okay. Is it our story? He's like, no. Right. But listen, again, you and I have talked a little bit about this in other episodes of Black Comics Lords and off camera. A lot of black folks don't know world history. A lot of people don't know world history. Ethiopia kicked the Italians out twice. Yeah. The Italians didn't get the message the first time, and they tried it again. And Ethiopia was like, did you not hear what we said? Go home. Okay. Ethiopia is the only country. Haiti and Ethiopia have two different distinctions. Haiti is the only country that was colonized and kicked the colonizers out. And Ethiopia is the only country that they tried it, and they said, go take your asses home right now. We are not here for any of that. Don't play with us. And the Italians went, oh, okay, you're right. And then they came back like, well, they weren't really serious, were they? They're like, listen, we were being nice the last time. Go home. Right? Only country in the world to do that. Only colonized country in the world to do that. So we felt, now these are things that the people in the room just knew, right? We all were Gen Xers and raised by a particular kind of black parents. But, well, I guess Todd's technically bottom end of Gen X. I'm at the upper end of Gen X. But let's put this in. And many people are not going to go do the research to figure that this is a real event that really happened. A lot of people are going to think this is some blackety blackness and, black guys trying to tell you some proper. Nope, sorry, y'all. Ethiopians know what they did. I promise you that. And it's a good thing to put into the mix because it shows, well, you'll see. Describe the story. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Google King Haile Selassie. And Google King Haile Selassie meets the Queen of England. You'll see the only picture of her bowing to another monarch. Anyway, moving on.
I'll also look up when the Rastafari and people came with a delegation to meet him and told him what they thought of him and his response.
He is the whole basis of the Rastafarian religion. Descendant of Jesus Christ himself. Ethiopia, city of Adwa, 1896. In that previous Marvel Voices story, war dogs, or not war dogs, but Wakandan delegates, I should say, were trying to help them repel the Italians 1 year prior to this.
Right.
So there was no interference with the story of this story. The two stories can technically coexist.
Technically. I believe in that story, though, the Wakandans were known to be Wakandans in that story. The MCU Wakandans were not. So they don't hurt each other, but I don't know that they fit in the same. This one fits more easily in the 616 comic book universe than the comic book story fits into the MCU.
Agreed.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
So you've got these two characters. We have Prince Tafari, who is the third in line to the throne.
Yeah.
His father and mother are the king and queen of Wakanda. He has two elder brothers who are head of the throne. He's trying to distinguish himself by becoming a war dog so that he'll be able to contribute and carve out his own name of fame in Wakanda. He's under the command and mentorship of
Kuda.
Thank you. Kuda, who's voiced by Steve Toussaint, by the way, brilliant actor to Steve Toussaint from House of Dragon. They're there to recover a Wakandan artifact that's in the midst of all of this war and death between Ethiopia and the Italians. What's the artifact they're there to get? The same axe that we saw in the very first episode that was not able to be recovered. The last time we saw the axe, it was floating down into the Mediterranean because Noni was not able to recover that artifact. At this point, it has been found in this town, and they are able to recover it. But then, as they're happy that we finally got the axe, we're going to be heroes. I've distinguished myself. I'm a true war dog. My parents will love me. Let's go on our way. Again, you guys have all the merch elements in the show.
Dude, where is my Lego? I want that.
I need like a Marvel Legends 112 scale version of this Wakandan vehicle car thing to add to my collection, which is
where's my McFarlane Toys action figures? I want all of it. All of it.
You guys have all the toys. You have all the toys just in these episodes. They're stopped by the Black Panther of the future.
Yes.
How far in the future is this?
500 years. From that point, 500
years in the future. So for all the Black Panther fans saying no T'Challa, no ticket, there is no T'Challa, but there is a Black Panther.
Yep. Yep.
500 years in the future. She displays a power I've never seen before.
It's the suit.
Is it the suit that does this? That was my question.
Yep, it's the suit.
All right. She is able to show her memories or...
It's linking them all, yeah.
Okay. Giving them a glimpse of the future. Because you guys have recovered this axe, and then you see flashbacks of her in all the previous episodes saying, hey, I used this quantum scanner to push my consciousness through time and space and try to pinpoint where this anomaly in our timeline has happened. Because in my timeline, Wakanda remained an isolationist nation. We were invaded by these aliens called the Horde.
Yep.
And the rest of the world did not have the power and technology to repel them. Wakanda joined the fight too late because they were the last nation standing, and we weren't able to defeat them. Yep. If Wakanda had not been isolationist and we had joined with the rest of the world, we could have helped repel this invasion and save the planet Earth.
Yep.
So I'm back in time to find the nexus point that led to Wakanda taking away its isolationism, and it's this axe that you guys just recovered.
Yep.
A pretty good summary?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
I mean, we had obviously Todd created this idea in a vacuum, right? And obviously it took years to get from that first idea all the way to where we are. Many things changed in the world. Many things changed in the MCU from where it was when he first got in with the basic, like, here's where I want to go, to this. But what their mandate was for the show was they decided we were just making a show. But someone above our pay grade decided, no, this is going to be part of Phase 6. This is going to be part of the actual MCU. This cartoon is going to be not like What If, where it's what if. This is the sacred timeline. So y'all got to figure a way to connect it. And we were like, but it takes place thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago. How's it going to connect? You wouldn't let us use a young ancient one. So what do we, okay, right? So we went back to that. Remember, this is still in the writing phase. Nothing's been made yet. So there was a lot of, days and days of, all right, well, what are we going to do? We're going to do some giant thing. Or, that's what's the expected thing. The expected thing would be that. Something with Thanos, we talked about at that time, well, y'all are doing some stuff with Kang. They're like, no Kang, right?
You just said something a second ago. I didn't want to, because I'm sure other people might have picked up on it. You said you didn't want to let us use the young ancient one. Was that on the table? Is that something you guys had thrown out there?
We talked about young ancient one. We talked about the Eternals. We talked about who else did we have in there? We talked about Leonardo da Vinci at one point. We had a bunch of, remember, we're all TV writers. It's only been recently that TV shows, the number of episodes got squeezed down to this ridiculous small number. All of us, we're thoroughbreds built to make shows that last longer than 10 episodes. So all of our thought processes are like, yeah, and then we could go to Greece, or we could do this thing. Or we built enough stuff for a completely other TV series.
That's what I'm tripping over. Is like all these names that you're throwing, all these concepts. Each one of those.
The stuff I'm forgetting stuff. We made so much nonsense up that we literally have enough for a completely other series that has nothing to do with the Hatut Zeraze if they wanted to do it. But we figured that the best way to do this was, what is the theme of this show?
Yeah.
Why does Wakanda do what it does? Why did we make these decisions? The theme is not the fun action jumping around and, is this funny, or what a great fight sequence, or that guy got an axe in the face. That's just the wrapping paper, right? The theme is, what does it cost you? What does it cost Wakanda? What does it cost these Wakandans to be this way that they've been for 10,000 freaking years?
This isolation.
Right? Yeah. What does it mean, right? So there's that part that gets to get culminated in our 4th episode. Like, picture this if this had gone on for 15 episodes, and then you finally find out what's going on with that axe.
Right.
Okay. So just picture in between these episodes, there were 2 or 3 more other episodes that we thought out, because we thought them up. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, are the Wakandans right? And if they're right, if the answer is yes, are they right forever? Or were they right for a time and now it's time to put it down? Because in the movie, T'Challa opens the country.
Yeah.
Like, he straight up opens it, not a little bit open, like T'Chaka had done, completely open. Okay? So if they were right up to a certain point, at what point did they start to be wrong? And at that point, who decides they're wrong and then decides what to do about it? Well, it has to be T'Chaka and his dad, which takes us through World War II into the present day. It explains why the Wakandans gave Howard Stark the shield, or the material for the shield. We're not going to give you all our stuff. Here's some vibranium. You see what you do with it. You're not going to join the fight exactly, but you go do what you got to do. We'll see what happens, right? Knowing that if he gets out of hand with it, we're going to come get it.
Right.
Right? They don't tell him that, but they're like, we will come get our property if you start acting a fool with it. But my feeling is, they would have stayed isolationists. They became less isolationist as soon as the United States dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Wakandans went, oh, damn, they're catching up. They're not using vibranium, but they're coming up with an alternative technology that's going to catch them up. They're talking about space travel, and they don't sound stupid when they do it. They're talking about
atomic age.
Right? They're talking about computers, and they don't sound dumb when they do it. Okay, maybe we need to rethink our program. But it's still a maybe, right? So T'Chaka's version is, all right, a little bit of UN stuff. Let them think we're this little impoverished nation. Nobody's messing with us because we ain't got no reason to conquer us. That's why we've never been conquered. Cool, right? And then Killmonger goes off Um, there's a lot of conversation I've noticed on the internet saying we said Killmonger was right. Killmonger's point of view was Wakanda should be part of the world is correct. 100% of everything else that son of a bitch did is wrong. 100%. Killmonger is a sociopathic, psychopathic, mass murdering butcher who thought he should be in charge. Just all the other stuff he said is just like the line. Okay, so we were not making a political statement that yay, give me that Killmonger was right T-shirt. No, but in real history, sometimes a bad act leads to the right thing, and there's nothing we can do about it. Everybody's always talking about going back in time to kill baby Hitler, but if you kill baby Hitler, one, it doesn't guarantee that some other version of Hitler doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just going to constantly be going back in time killing babies because the times made that event, not the guy. Right. He was just the guy for that time. Right. But also, a billion things happened because of that war that many people would say benefited humanity on the whole. That there are things that came out of it that would not have happened had that not occurred. Right? I'm not saying the war was a good thing, and quite the opposite. It was a hideous blight on human history, but you can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. There are monstrous people who did horrible medical experiments that benefit your children today. Right? The United States doesn't exist without the slave trade. Am I glad my ancestors made the trip? Hell no. But it wouldn't be here without us.
Yeah.
No rock and roll, no jazz.
World War II kicked off the women's a big thing in the women's suffrage movement. It helped kick off the civil rights movement in many respects.
Yeah. When
the soldiers came back to the United States.
All those soldiers came back, they're like, well, the French ladies are treating us great. Yeah. What's up with this? We just fought a racist monster, and what's happening? Also, we know how to shoot now. And a whole bunch of us know how to do it. Not just, we got military training now, right? So I'm saying, it's a complex issue, and we wanted to treat it with the necessary complexity. So it wasn't just, yay, Killmonger. It was, this event is one of those fixed points that needs to happen.
Right. That goes back to what I was saying in that first episode, and that conversation between Lion and Noni is so pivotal because you begin to see the dichotomy between what Lion's trying to accomplish and what Noni's beliefs are, flip sides of the same coin, depending on your point of view. And this kind of helps as you proceed along. You start to flesh out the reasoning behind Wakanda's values and its philosophies.
Correct.
And this episode really sort of takes it to a head.
Yeah, and isolationism, like I said, it was a proper survival adaptation early, but it's been 10,000 years now. You might need to rethink the program. And again,
because when the big bad comes, you need to be able to fight the big bad.
Right, and we're all in this together is something that phrase is something that permeates all of my work personally. We're all in this together. And I think at the core of every real superhero story, every good superhero story, the reason it's a hard thing to get across to people. The reason that at least in my mind, let me just say this is my opinion, I'm not coming for anybody. People are allowed to like what they like. Okay. But I feel that the Snyderverse fails because it does not believe in altruism and the goodness of human beings. At the core of that universe is not a belief that humans are basically decent. And I don't think you can write Superman if you don't believe that. I don't think you can write Captain America if you don't believe that. I'm not saying you shouldn't write The Punisher. Go write that with have a ball. But leave the heroes alone if you don't believe in them. And this is this kind of thing. Wakanda's trying to do. I picture Wakanda in a constant ethical struggle of trying to do right. How can we do the least harm to our fellow human beings? We're so far ahead of them. Am I giving these kids an Uzi? Am I giving these kids their first whiskey? Am I? You know what I mean? We can handle it. Am I going to destroy their culture if I just show up in my car? Go look up cargo cult. Everybody don't know what that term means. Go look up the term cargo cult. That's just people seeing airplanes, seeing them. Okay? So this episode, and again, it's a cartoon. It's a half-hour cartoon with a lot of funny action and crazy sci-fi monsters and all that. But at the core of it is, do you need glory? What is glory? What is that who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Your story doesn't need to get told as long as you do right. And that is a heroic message to me. I get choked up thinking about it. But
speaking of getting choked up, this scene here, where the Black Panther of 500 years from now is fighting off the Horde. This is a really riveting scene, and I don't think it gets enough credit because you're in the scene where there's a time portal, and the Wakandans are there, and they realize, look, the Horde's coming. We're the last line of defense. If we don't stop the Horde, they're going to jump through the portal and ruin the entire timeline.
Yeah.
And you see the Dora Milaje and the Black Panther all fighting tooth and nail. I have to save you, my queen. All of a sudden, that Dora Milaje is plucked out, tossed away, chomped on, torn in half, what have you. It's a violent scene.
Yeah.
Constantly. And it's a big battle. And this Black Panther realizes she's about to die. She's hoping that these other two guys are going to do the right thing and return the axe to where it's supposed to be in time. And she throws out this blood curdling Wakanda forever, and this has this resolute look on her face. I got a little emotional on this.
Let me say this to you. Two things. One, people have got it wrong what happened in this episode about the time travel aspect of it. If you go back to Avengers Infinity War, where the Ancient Ones explaining to the Hulk how it works, right? When Tafari lifts that axe, he created a branch. This future Panther is from that branch. She's not from the main timeline.
Yeah.
She doesn't know all of that. We do, the viewer does. But what she realizes is something, this doesn't need to be the way it is. She doesn't have the multiverse, all of that. You know about the He Who Remains and all that nonsense and the TVA. What she knows is something went off. We need to save our thing. But what actually happened was, by returning the axe, like if the timeline split when Tafari took the axe, this is the last Panther's timeline that should be down here. When she puts the axe back, boop, and now it's back to the sacred timeline. That's it. It's just like if you removed an Infinity Stone but put it back. Just like that. Very simple, right? So she doesn't know, and that's the other thing. There's that it's an old saying about civilization is when old men plant trees knowing that they're never going to sit in the shade of that tree because they know that the society is going to exist and that I'm planting it for future days. That's the look on her face. I'm going to trust my ancestors because if this works, I don't exist anymore.
She literally says that. I'm going to trust my ancestors. Yeah.
Right? And on the other side of that, Tafari asked the question, how will we know if we did the right thing? You got to have faith. Like, I am not a person of faith. Me personally, I'm not that. But in the context of this universe we built, in the context of this thing we're trying to get across to the outside world about heroes and heroics, and what does that mean, ethics, you got to have faith. We did the right thing.
I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it. There was the concept of faith. That's what it goes down to.
Neither of them knows what will happen. Neither of them knows. And in the context of the Last Panther, if everything goes right, her existence completely disappears. She literally vanishes. So also the thing you should remember as well, she's not just the last Panther in that moment. She's the last human being alive on Earth.
On Earth, yeah.
She's the last human being. And what is she protecting? That gateway from her branch would lead the Horde into the main universe where she just came from. So she's got to hold them off long enough for the axe to be found by Killmonger.
That's incredible. And shout out, as an aside, shout out to the animation team. Look at her hair.
They went off, man. They went off. Dude, people are leaving up. People were trying to get on this show. People saw what Todd was doing. They were trying to quit their shows and get on this show.
The detail, phenomenal.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. If Todd ever calls me back, I will dive on that show like I don't even know what to say. It was just glorious.
explaining back to the royal family what happened, and then us coming to the realization of where the divergence of this timeline happened. Where was this? Where was the moment that set into motion the events that would lead to T'Challa going to the UN and saying, "I'm the leader of the most advanced country of the world, Wakanda. Welcome. We're about to open up our country to you." And it was all due to this moment.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great way to come full circle.
I mean,
And dive back into it.
I think a lot of the time, I mean, this is me. I don't know. I think Todd feels this way because he and I have been, he's my best friend. But people forget we're telling you stories.
Yeah.
Right. They think about it all in terms of, you know, recast T'Challa and what is the machinations of Kevin Feige versus Bob Iger and who's really in charge of this and, you know, what's going to happen with the kid and are we going to get what's going to happen in Secret Wars, but not in terms of I'm really excited about what's going to happen in Secret Wars, but what's Robert Downey Jr.'s salary and all this kind of stuff. And I'm a storyteller. I'm here to tell you stories. And in this context, I'm here to tell you stories about heroes, not dickheads, not assholes, not people who shoot the person you don't like in the face. Heroes. And the idea of these heroes is maybe some of it rubs off. Right?
It's about our modern day fables, man. It's about inspiration.
That's what you said at the top of this. Right? I saw Joe Illich in here. This is a Dwayne McDuffie thing too. Like, we're not telling these stories just to tell stories about people in spandex beating up other people in spandex. Like, if a little bit of it rubs off on you and makes you go, I can do a little of this in my day. Like, I keep thinking about a scene in the first Icon comic where Icon is reading Raquel before she's Rocket, the riot act. You broke into my house, blah, 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 blah. Got shot, but luckily I'm an alien and it didn't hurt me. And whatever happened, I've been watching you all do all this stuff. And she says, whatever happened to just working hard and blah, blah, blah. And she says, yeah, it's really easy to rise up pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you can fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Man, you did something special with this series. You guys, your whole team, hats off to all of you, man. I know this genre is often overlooked when it comes to awards like Oscars and Emmys, what have you, but I'm curious to see what animated series gets an Emmy over this.
I'm not in that fight. I told Todd he should expect nominations when I first saw it. There's no way it doesn't get nominated for a bunch of stuff.
There's just no objective way this does not get a bunch of nominations for Emmys.
Right. It depends on what else is out. Blue Eye Samurai is nothing to, nothing to mess with. Depends on what drops. Like, if Arcane came out, they're not doing any more Arcane, but if Arcane came out the same year, I don't know that I'd be mad if I got defeated by Arcane, but I'd be very happy to be in the same company.
This is animated television at its best. And I just wanted to make sure that as a fan, I conveyed that to you and your team. You guys did stellar work, outstanding work.
I honestly expected this conversation to be much lighter, and we got into some deepness thanks to you.
Well, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of this stuff. And I think it was important. I mean, that's why Black Comic Lords exist, man. We've got so much talent within our community that needs to have a light shined on it.
Yep. And it needs to also remember, this is what you said at the very beginning. Now, I'm not saying anything negative. Jack Kirby is I don't have idols, but Jack Kirby is my ace. Jack Kirby is the bar. Jack Kirby is the thing that made me want to do all this.
Yeah.
Okay. And I watched documentaries with him, and he was one of us. Jack Kirby was a freaking G. Okay. But 2 white guys made up Wakanda.
Yeah.
a company run by white people has governed the entire life, the entire existence of Wakanda and the Black Panther and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and by now we could say about half the time they got it right, in the sense of Black people can identify with it. It's not kicking us in any way. It doesn't make us look in some kind of way. It's worth watching. It's worth keeping inside. Okay, mm-hmm. But about half the time it's like, wait, what? Okay. Meanwhile, there's stacks of creators who aren't Marvel and DC, who don't have multi-million-dollar advertising campaigns behind them, that supposedly our Black community of doesn't have to be just Black people, but anything that Black people point themselves at that they like is a hit. I think people forget that. Black people have a huge amount of buying power, even in this day and age. Any single thing that you say, that's going to be a hit this year, it's a hit. Didn't need anybody else.
And taste me.
Just go to George and ask Tyler Perry. Okay? Not commenting on the quality of his work. I'm saying Black people decided his work was worthy, and he's a billionaire. Okay? There are stacks of people making great work. Bitterroot, Philadelphia, just amazing work that I shouldn't have to be a deep geek to know about. Like, you gotta do the work for each other too. You gotta tell people about this stuff. Make them look at it. Kids who don't want to read might like comic books. They might, and then the people who care about money, those same giant corporations that created these things and are trying to, some people say, exploit our subculture or whatever, they're going to swivel around and go, oh, how many people bought Bitterroot? They don't care who, how many. How much was each issue? How much was each trade paperback? How many sold? Right? There's a lot of books out there like that. And until recently, there was no such thing as a group like blackcomiclords to even get the word out on the internet. It was just word of mouth, people at conventions or whatever. And some of these companies, they're small. They're just 10 people, maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe. They're in St. Louis or they're in Nashville or someplace, and they don't have it. They're making great work, but they can't get the word out. That's on the audience. That's not because they're Black. If it sucks, kill it. Right? If it sucks, do not put it up on your shoulders. If it sucks, let them know they need to go back to the lab. But there's a lot of great work going on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get to this level if you don't push it up. It can't rise to that top if you don't push it up. Where'd the Boondocks come from? You act like it was always there. It wasn't. Anyway.
We have rapid fire questions for
Let's
you.
get it.
I promised you guys we'd get to the questions. Let's get to the questions. Dr. Wizard. From Ectic Birdie Nietzsche, will season 2 touch on religious aspect of Wakanda, specifically Bastard?
What are you talking about?
Speaking into existence, man.
Listen, Todd will say this, I'll say this. Yeah, it's possible Marvel will request a season 2. We are one of the most watched shows on Disney Plus ever. We're still in the top 3. We beat the crap out of most of their live action shows in terms of Rotten Tomatoes and all that.
Really?
Stuff. People pay attention. Oh yeah, dude. I went and checked. Not that I cared until this show. I've never cared about that, but I went and looked. Yeah, it's a beast. Rise of Wakanda is a beast. But is there a second show now? Second season now? No one's calling me.
Not yet.
And Todd's my best friend, so I believe if he got a call, he might have let me know. So can't answer the question because there is no season 2 yet.
Well, I will definitely be tagging Marvel on this. Hopefully they pay attention. Off topic, but Hank, thank you, Mr. Thorne, for resurrecting John Wraith. Wraith was done wrong by many writers, and I'm glad you brought him back. Man, not only did Jeff bring him back, he leveled the brother up.
Marvel doesn't have enough Black villains. It doesn't have enough Black, really, and you could substitute any non-white group, by the way. It's not just Black people. But Wraith is not a street-level character. He's not a super science character. He's not an electrically based character, right? he is kind of like Wolverine, an ex-mercenary type trying to clean his ledger. Not a lot of black guys doing that on any of these two big companies.
Right.
In fact, the Bronze Tiger might be the only other one. He got killed as a plot point in a Wolverine book, and I was like, nope, yoink. He's coming back. And I brought him back in a way that seemed like it was kind of like what they were building to, but they never really bit down on it. He's a religious man. I've known religious people my whole life. And if I lived a whole life of bloody violence and then I almost got killed in the midst of that life, I don't know, I might have a literal come to Jesus moment if that was in my background.
That aspect added such depth to his character and another little layer to his character. I'm still bitter about it because your book had really hit its stride at the time that it got canceled. Like the stuff you did in those last 3 issues was like, damn.
We had a lot of big plans. I definitely fell in love with characters I didn't expect to fall in love with on that. But with Wraith, he was always going to be part of the mix. Moses Magnum was always coming back. I was always going to glow up Moses
Magnum. Probably one of the best black villains in Marvel's whole roster.
When I first brought him up, they were like, who? And I was like, he's an X-Men villain. He like all the stuff that they list. That doesn't matter. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah.
One thing on that point, what you just said, that's get myself in trouble. That's the point. We had Tom Brevoort on the show, and one thing that he made apparent, amongst other things, I don't want to get into it because that's a whole other conversation. But one thing is clearly apparent. You have editors at the big two who are either young, lack knowledge, or a combination thereof, and quite frankly are unfamiliar with a lot of these characters, a lot of our characters, and we're suffering as a result of it. To have you say Moses Magnum and have someone say, an editor say, who?
Well, they also said who about Nuclear, so I don't know if I'm going to kick them that much. But listen, Marvel and DC both have really deep benches, and the thing with their minority, I hate saying that word, they're non-white characters, not minorities. Globally white people are the minority. Yeah. Sorry about it. But they have deep benches, but the problem is no one until relatively recently thought to do anything with those characters. So whenever they pop up, they're just here to service a Batman story. They're just here to service a Superman story or whatever, and put a little ethnic flavor in there for whatever. And I'm not saying anything negative against the people, because each one of those writers is like, you know what? Batman never meets any black people. The Signal, right? Like that. But then they go away again forever until the next 5 years later, 10 years later. So part of my job is I'm going to put a player on the board because I'm not going to be here forever. And I tend to use obscure characters anyway. So I'm going to put these players back on the board. And if somebody goes, oh, damn, I didn't think about him like that. Hell yeah.
Right.
You know, and now Wraith gets to live and be a character. Like he's got a church in Lake Pontchartrain. He runs a little homemade church in Louisiana. Have you ever been to Louisiana? There's bunches of that down there. All right. Louisiana lifestyle is crazy as hell. Somebody knows that world and puts this man in it with his current mindset. That's some stories to tell. I probably won't tell them now, but somebody can. You know, same with Moses Magnum.
That's the anyway. Best thing that writers can do these days is take these obscure characters off of these deep benches and put a new coat of paint on them, do a different angle with them. You won't, as a company, you don't have to worry about intellectual property issues because that's all it's about right now is merchandising the IP. You don't have to worry about it because you're the only characters. They're just not being used. Just pluck them out and reuse them.
Well, remember, but every writer has their own. Like most of these characters are not my favorites. I'm not like sitting there going, "Oh yeah, get the dude John Ray." It was more like, I need a character. I need some characters to do certain kinds of things. I need to flesh out Sage's backstory. Who lives in that world? And then I go do the research. I'm like, they killed him? No. Sorry about that. This aggression will not stand. Sorry, no. But the other writers, I'm not saying that there's any racial bias involved. It's just they have their own favorites too. So, you know, but if I don't put him back,
lack of knowledge, unfortunately.
If I don't put him back on the board, who's going to think of him again? So, anyway, I agree with you, Wraith times 7. I agree.
Next question. Is the Horde from EOW Eyes of Wakanda based off of the Horde from the Strike Force Moratorium?
No, those guys, if you go and look at them, watch this. Ha ha! I didn't think thought it was a trick question, did you? No, that Horde, you could see them. They were humanoid, that weird buggy, not bug, but like animal heads. They were aliens, but like whatever. This Horde is, there's a guy, what's his name, called begins with a P, not the Portal, whatever. He's basically the anti of the Celestials. The Horde in Marvel Comics, they go around and they eat any planet that has celestial eggs. They screw it up so they can get at the egg and eat the celestial egg. And the idea is that it's to keep the Celestials from overrunning the universe. So forget what the guy's name is. They drew him to look like Black Jack Kirby, I think. But they're his servants, basically. Their whole thing is we're going to eat up celestial eggs. So that's where that came from.
Common sense. And thank you for the super chats, for everyone who's given these super chats. So Jirani is Iron Fist in 1400 AD. Would it be more accurate to use Fonju Wu? You can't use her because she is the Phoenix in the comic.
Okay. So here's the thing that I think Marvel made a huge mistake in the MCU. You should not have called MCU 616. MCU is not 616. The comic books are 616. This creates a lot of confusion in the comic book fans, and the casual fans, they don't know from any of that. They don't care. So there was no reason to do it. They just did it for some reason. I don't know why. I say all that to say this. There's a kind of person who writes this MCU stuff who's like, I don't care about these damn comic books, right? Don't tell me about these comic books. And there's another kind, my kind, who's like, well, comic books are doing this thing, but we're freed from that to add something. So when we can use like something like Young Ancient One, that could be cool, right? We're not screwing with anything. We're not changing anything in the comics, but and by the way, we're talking about way back in the past with Young Ancient One. So it wouldn't have been the Tilda Swinton one. It would have been the Ancient One we all know.
Yeah.
Right? Only as a kid. Right? So I say that to say we are not, the company, I think, leans away from being too comic book accurate, or at the very least, what comic book accuracies have to go through a lot of filters, right? In our mind, it was easier and safer to just make one up. That's all. It was not a matter of either or. It was like, again, we only had a half hour, and we didn't have to explain anything with Jirani.
Collective Birdie each. We're Achilles and Bakai Memon more than just comrades friends. Achilles' offense towards the end gave jilted lover vibes.
Yeah. Yes.
It was ancient Greece. That was not.
I'm not gonna. There's a cheesy way out of this, but you got the vibe because we put it there.
All right. Next question. Was Tafari named in reference to Rastafari?
I think that's a coincidence because we were deep in Ethiopia at the time. For sure. Why not? Yeah, why
not? It was the hardest line in the show when he said, "We will both be forgotten by time, but at least I would have lived."
At least I would have lived free. You can hear it because of the that's going on. His last word is actually free. And yeah, the line is cold. Don't get me like. There's a whole book about the lion I would love to write one day. Oh my God, that man is a monster! Holy crap! But yeah, thank you very much. We loved it.
Do you know or not if Okoye's show is still off the table even after the success of Eyes of Wakanda?
I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness about whether she was going to be in our show. She never was. That was a fan rumor that got put on IMDb or someplace, and people started.
That's one of the reasons why we're doing the show, because we titled this episode.
Was never part of our show. She was going to have, at least according to rumor and backstage stuff, there was some talk that there was going to be a show focused on Denai and playing. I say it like I know her. I don't know her. Playing Okoye and some Dora-focused shenanigans, but she's still in the Walking Dead, as far as I know, and that didn't happen. I don't know that it can't happen, but I haven't heard anything about it going to happen. I think Marvel is pulling back from its TV operations. They got their hands burnt a little bit by flooding the market, and I think they're rethinking it. Doesn't mean that won't happen. That might be one of the things that is on the table. I don't know, but I think you're going to see fewer. I think you're going to be fewer long form TV projects of that scale for a minute until they figure out what to do.
Yeah, there was even rumors that when they talked about the plot points for the Okoye show, it sounded like plot points from your show, in which she was going to go around with Dora Milaje across the world and try to recover stuff. And
listen, y'all,
the rumors.
There's a lot of fans out there that think they know what they're talking about, and I'm not going to knock them. You got to fill up your, you got to get them clicks, I guess.
Get them.
Take it with a grain of salt. And frankly, sometimes take it with a grain of salt when Marvel says it, because there's a lot of PR and there's a lot of stuff that happens backstage that nobody can talk about, where a show might exist and somebody leaked that it existed, and then a whole bunch of stuff that nothing sinister going on could just be bad timing. You know, like some of these actors, especially actors and directors, they have so many projects stacked up that if you don't get them in exactly the right window, that's it. And if you were only going to do this project because so-and-so was going to be in it, that's it. Like, if she's not dumping this motion picture she's contracted to do to come do this 6 episodes of whatever, or 10 episodes of whatever, even if she really wants to, she can't. She got a contract. Y'all took too long to get back to her. Sorry. So, but what that translates into for the audience is, what happened to that show? Well, we can't tell you. NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Can't tell you any of that. So, short answer is, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Did the Lion have the capability to advance and innovate his stolen technology, especially if he intends to confront Wakanda?
To some degree, but he is not a scientist. What I would say is that most Wakandans, again, this talks about what the baseline Wakandan is. I would say almost every Wakandan, from our point of view, will be fairly science adept.
And right? I don't even know if he ever stated that his plan was to confront Wakanda. Like, why would he? He doesn't need to.
He doesn't have to do that. He's
Wakanda's isolationist. He can just do his thing.
That he was powerful enough to do it if he wanted to. That was their problem. Not that he was going to do it, that he might be capable of doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So the answer is he could have enough tech. The problem would be, and it's an interesting question, because if you think it all the way through, no matter how good he was with the stuff that he took, what kind of scientists know he took that stuff? He's not going to beat them. He's not a scientist. He's a warrior. So even if he was really good at fixing cars, he can't design and build a brand new one. So probably the odds are he would have just formed his own giant version of Wakanda, his version, out in the barbarian world, and never mess with Wakanda again.
And he'll never have as much tech as Wakanda has.
Right.
And Vibranium, for that matter.
Right. I mean, there are stories you could tell. But again, ain't nobody hired me to do them, so I'm not going to spill them here. So,
Next question. Noni and Lion were from the same tribe. Was there a meaning to that? Did I miss something?
Yeah. Merchant. I made them the merchant tribe on purpose, because merchants have to deal with people in a different way than everybody else. Mm-hmm. Merchants have to basically show a particular face to the customer, and another face to the makers of the things that they sell. In a tribal society like Wakanda, even a modern one, I presume there's a lot of river travel going from village to village or city to city, which means they have to be able to fit into those places.
That makes absolute sense.
Right? And they would be the most cosmopolitan of all. Like, they'd be the anti-Jabari, right? The Jabari are like hippies living up in the hills eating roots and shit. And the merchant tribe would be the ones that basically everybody knows them. They show up with goods, and everybody's cookout has a merchant in it.
Yeah.
Like that.
That makes absolute sense. How do Wakandans handle the genetic problems that come from lack of genetic diversity, since they have been marrying within their tribes for a couple of thousands of years?
Well, I don't know. There's only about 1.5 million of them, and they were cobbled together from multiple tribes. So Wakanda is the name of the nation, but each one of those tribes is literally a tribe. The Xhosa and the Zulu are not identical. The what do you call it? There's like 5 different. God damn it! Doesn't matter. Kalahari Desert tribe or whatever. So the idea of too much overlap. I think if you have a base of 60,000 humans, you're good. So, and I think they started with more than that. So.
And I'm pretty sure they probably have some limitation as to how many children they allow people to have or encourage people to have.
This would be a question, right? But unlike China, which says you're only going to have 2 kids, Africans are not Europeans and they're not Westerners. They would probably have had cultural taboos where this would not be a question. Or if you had the third kid, maybe there's a childless couple, right? So you're not really adding because those people didn't have any kids. So that kid at birth handed off to the childless couple who would be happy to have it.
That sounds like a whole other plot point for another part of the series.
Yeah, but I don't want people to walk away from this thinking that because the lion said Wakanda was a cage, that it felt like a cage to everyone. The lion was nuts. Like, he wanted some stuff that Wakanda could not provide to him. Okay, so he was not wrong in some ways, but he's also only describing how he feels. He's not saying it as this is just the facts.
Yeah. Could there be an intergalactic Wakandan empire in the MCU formed by Wakandans who went into space searching for more? What?
Yeah. That's sort of okay. I don't know if you follow me or follow my mindset.
Oh, in the MCU, I see.
CBR. I'm not a fan of the intergalactic empire at all. I think that the idea of an empire is the opposite of what Wakanda is. You can't be both isolationist and an empire.
I think T'Challa agrees with you, as exemplified by the fact that he doesn't really involve himself with the intergalactic empire. As soon as he got made emperor, what's the first thing he did? He made M'Baku regent and bounced.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it. This is one of the reasons Marvel's never going to let me write that book, because within 10 issues, no more intergalactic empire of Wakanda. That's done.
I love the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. I love the concept of it. I love the fact that Ta-Nehisi Coates literally did Marvel's first truly hardcore Afrofuturist story.
Dude, I'm telling you,
that by itself was kind of cool.
I will hit that empire like Thanos snapping that Infinity Gauntlet. Okay, they will never let me near the Black Panther comic book. I promise you.
I get the feeling Hickman's going to end that empire at the end of Imperial anyway. I suspect that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's no. So the answer is technically yes, because they can do anything they want, but I do not condone nor support the intergalactic empire of Wakanda.
I don't think they're going to allow black people to have that many nice things in Marvel for that long.
Oh, there's a better way to do it, but I'm not giving it away for free.
I don't think the empire is going to be around. But
I will tell you what it is off camera, Paul. You're going to trip out.
We'll talk afterwards.
Okay.
All right, next question. Wouldn't Wakanda have their automated defenses back then to protect their borders?
Yes. Now, if you notice, you probably didn't because not enough people read the book, but I had the character Sage describe what Wakanda's ethos is, right? Their entire culture is based on stealth. Now, that's not just because they're a hidden kingdom. Panthers are solitary ambush hunters. They're not pack animals. They do not roll up like lions do in a big gang. They wait for your dumb ass to walk into their territory, and they jump out of the dark silently and kill you and eat you. That's what panthers do. So if you have a culture based on that, and you have a culture based on stealth, then it makes sense that you'd have massive booby traps all around the perimeter of your country in the early days before you could hide, to make it very unpleasant for anyone to try to get in there. But not so unpleasant that they go home and go, you know what those fools got over there? This giant wooden thing came up and looked like a dude and it started trying to kill me. They wouldn't do that. They would do things that made it look like the landscape killed you. That is just, don't go over there. It's cursed or whatever, right?
For reference point, check out Reggie Hudlin's first issue of Black Panther.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Wakanda is in the eastern part of Africa.
No, southern central, I would say. In fact, I believe, and this is another weird coincidence. When I was a kid, I lived in the country of Lesotho for several years. Lesotho is surrounded by South Africa. It is roughly the size of Maryland, which is roughly the size of Wakanda, and it sits roughly in the place in Africa where Wakanda is supposed to sit in their world. I believe I remember reading an article where Ryan said that that's sort of an analog for his Wakanda, but don't quote me. I could be making that up. But the answer is Central Southern Africa.
All right. Has Wakanda encountered Inhumans or Eternals at some point in ancient times, since they would close to them in technology-wise.
In my mind, that is sort of an automatic thing, at least in terms of the Eternals. We talked about using the Eternals, at least one or two of them, in one of our episodes.
Yeah.
The Inhumans, personally, I quite like the idea of the Inhumans. I think they beat it to death. The Marvel comics beat it to death during that weird period where they were trying not to have the mutants be anything. They try to elevate the Inhumans.
Try to replace the mutants with the Inhumans?
Dude, that was never going to work. Could have told you, don't do that. And what did he end up doing? Destroying the Inhumans, who were perfectly lovely before all of that. But the short answer is, I don't know if the Inhumans got out enough before the Fantastic Four discovered them. They weren't really, like, you talk about isolationist environment, they were straight up isolationists. Like, they were not trying to mix with anybody. So, and by the way, again, Stan basically comes up with one or two things, and one of them was isolationist, super advanced societies hiding in mountains somewhere. So, I don't know what's up with Stan, but yeah. So, the short answer is Eternals, yes, and Humans, no.
Was Bacchia stand-in for the mythological Patroclus? But I can't say that word.
There's a lot of commentary about the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus, and the short answer is no. What we wanted to do with that was say that everything you've read about it was basically a fish story, that what Homer did was not the facts. It was a great story, but it wasn't the facts. What we showed you was the facts. So according to the myth, I guess, yeah, but it wasn't in our thinking at all. We weren't doing that.
Wonder what kind of relationship Bast has with Zeus. She got along with Odin very well indeed.
All right. I'm going to spoil a way that I think about Marvel's gods.
Oh boy, here we go.
Again, this is why I'm never going to get to write these characters, because many of the things I think are in opposition to what they've done with them. Bast, obviously, is an Egyptian god. The Sub-Saharans never heard of her, so the idea that she's the goddess of Wakanda is nonsense, but whatever, fine. What I think is that African gods are, by definition, the first gods that humans ever had. All humans are descended from Africans. They definitely had kinds of worship before they had migrated out. So all of those gods, whatever we're calling them, are the oldest ones. Prior to the Titans, prior to the Greek Titans, prior to the dream time with the Aborigines, prior to everybody, African gods. They're the proto-gods. So Bast, being one of them, is either the child of those original gods or is one of those original gods. So my feeling is that Bast's relationship with Zeus and all the Odin and all the rest of them is, those are precocious kids.
Are you reading Maria Iodeli's Storm series?
I'm not caught up. He's having a Thunder War right now. Right?
Because he addresses that. I'll just put
I'll read it. I mean, I was going to anyway, but yeah.
He talks about Ashtur. Did Memnon have a broken heart at the end of his Trojan mission?
Yes.
Yeah, we talk
absolutely. Absolutely. Totally heartbroken. Even if you weren't catching what we were throwing and that was just his best friend, he murdered his best friend. If you throw in what we did put in there, subtextually, that was his lover, then he broke his own heart, which makes it even more tragic. Yeah.
The Wakandans intermarry across tribes. They only avoid outsiders. My parents' country, Sierra Leone, is sixth of the size of Wakanda would be in real life, and we have 16 different tribes.
Exactly. And between 616 and the MCU, we can't even agree on how many of those tribes there are, what their names are, because the tribes in the movies don't correlate to the named tribes in the show, in the comics. So the simplest thing is to say they all are correct, which means we got a lot of tribes in Wakanda.
Couldn't Vibranium absorb the kinetic energy from the Iron Fist?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you need...
Use Vibranium as a shield at some point in the fight.
Yes. And again, you'd have to have the proper amount of Vibranium. It wouldn't be just like, I've got some tinfoil made of Vibranium, because the sheer force of the actual fist would just punch through that. Yeah. But yeah, if you had armor made out of Vibranium, you could give the Iron Fist some time. You could give him some trouble. Sure. Also, there's some things that were done in the comics that look cool in the moment, which I don't agree with. The Iron Fist takes a minute to actually generate it, and it's not like he just holds on to it and can keep that going indefinitely. It requires focus, right? Right, and you can expend it. Like you got to use that chi for other stuff too. So keep the fight going long enough, no more Iron Fist, just a really good fighter. So anyway, yes, the short answer is yes.
Have these war dogs spawned a lot of children on their missions? Or if they did, I wonder if those children found each other and made their own secret society.
Man, you all think like writers. I will tell you this. The short answer to that is probably not these war dogs, the ones you've seen, but wouldn't that be a great story? Either half of it.
Check out West Coast Avengers. There was a brother and sister that were the descendants of, I believe, the Wakandan war dogs that became superheroes in the West Coast Avengers. Would it be interesting if they were watching Eric Killmonger the whole time to see if he would do? The society actually knows about the war dogs. Thoughts?
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand that question either.
Sorry, I please reword that.
Is Tafari named after or really inspired by the name? We got that one already.
We already did that one. The answer is, I know, not on purpose.
Shouldn't the Wakandan royal family be larger since the Black Panthers probably had more than one child?
I think it would depend on which era. As we've gotten closer to now, they seem to have favored fewer offspring, but I don't know that in the past there wouldn't have been a whole slew of them. Yeah. Sure. It depends on which Black Panther you're talking about.
Yeah. Even in the Kirby run, we knew that T'Challa had several cousins.
Right.
So
that means one of his parents had siblings. Yeah. So, yeah.
Did T'Chaka give the shield or Azori to T'Challa's grandfather?
Okay. That's a sliding timescale thing, and Marvel refuses to bite down on who was when and why the sliding timescale works. They don't. The answer is both.
It's real simple. It was established early on. It was T'Chaka, but he was created in 1966, so that makes sense.
Right, but now it doesn't.
Now in 2025,
right,
that wasn't mathematically math.
Right.
So you have to jump back a generation to the grandfather, which is Azori.
Right.
20 years from now, it'll be
the great-grandfather.
So
that's right. It'll always slide. So the answer is both, depending on when you decided to start picking up the comic.
Right. To your point about race being a construct, do you think some readers are overreacting with the Marvel Knights White Panther?
Right. In modern America on the internet, overreacting. Listen, it's a story. I don't know what Christopher Priest is going to do with that, but I guarantee you this: it was designed to be clickbait, and y'all fell for it. Okay.
And on top of all that, it's nothing that he hasn't done before.
Yeah. So the question is, are people overreacting? I will not know that until the story is complete. If they're right about what Chris is doing, again, I'm talking about Chris Priest like I know him. I don't know him. But if they're right, then I guess their response is appropriate. But if they're wrong, which they probably are because he's a damn fine writer, and I can't believe he'd be that stupid, then I would expect a whole bunch of people to come back and go, oh, I'm sorry, I was stupid about this, which they won't do. So.
Mr. Thorne, how do you feel about the MCU retconning Kamala Khan into a mutant?
I think it's stupid. I just straight up think it's stupid. She's an Inhuman. She was built to be an Inhuman. Let her be an Inhuman. See, this is the thing. They shot themselves in the foot with all that Inhuman nonsense. They wanted the Inhumans to replace the X-Men. That can't happen because they're not built like the X-Men. They did everything they could do to turn them into the equivalent of mutants. Didn't work. Could have told you that's not what they're for. Then, with Krakoa, they try to turn the mutants into the Inhumans. Okay? So their idea is that we want her to be, this is my guess. Nobody's cluing me into their editorial practices. They want Kamala Khan to be popular. We don't have any Muslim heroes really that are prominent. She was created by a Muslim woman. Let's go. Fine. What's our most popular franchise? The X-Men. Like, if they want something to sell, they'll probably make the Punisher a mutant. Like, he's a mutant who must kill gangsters. Like, I don't know. But Yeah, I feel like that's where you bump up against corporate thinking versus writers versus creative thinking. Corporate thinking is the opposite of creativity. It's whatever's expedient. Whatever.
I think for the MCU, they don't trust the mainstream audiences are going to be able to distinguish between the Inhumans and the mutants. And so, thinking long term, we
Yes.
know that Kamala Khan, her identity is as an Inhuman. That's a big part of her identity. How do you market that when you're trying to promote and push this character? And
Let
she
me
keeps
ask you
saying, I'm
this.
an Inhuman, and the mainstream audience is like, what the hell is an Inhuman?
Let me ask you this, President of Marvel and Disney. Did you have that problem with Spider-Man? The Spider-Man mutant?
He's Spider-Man.
She's Ms. Marvel.
Yeah. But that would require you to actually, write.
Make up an origin story and give her a reason to be a superhero?
Yeah, you got to, develop the character. That's too much work. That's too much work.
What are you, some kind of commie? You hippie? What's wrong with you? So, yeah, I'm not happy about any of that stuff. But I sympathize with my peers who write the comics because that's something that's decided for you, and then you have to make it work. To that degree, some people have been able to make it work, and others have fumbled.
Yeah. Why don't you like the Intergalactic Empire? Well, you kind of answered that already.
I did answer that, but I'll answer you again. Wakandans cannot build an empire because the nature of all empires is they must expand. It's a kingdom if it doesn't expand. We have our property, this is our area, this is my kingdom or my queendom, whatever. If it's an empire, it is perpetually expanding, which means it's conquering, which means it's violently taking territory. There's no way, you don't become an empire by bartering, you take stuff, okay? But Wakandan's entire thing is, we're staying at home, we don't want anybody looking at us. You can't have both.
Yeah.
And also, empires are inherently evil. There is no such thing as a good empire. There's never been one and there never can be one because you are not voluntarily part of it. There's no such thing as a democracy that's an empire. No such thing as that. As soon as any democracy folds into empire, stops being a democracy, might be watching it happen right now. Okay? So they can't do it. And the fact that it was done offends me personally as a fan of superheroes. So you're right. That's why that's one of the many reasons Marvel will never let me write the Black Panther, because I will erase that shit like a fucking Thanos snap.
Like a bad habit. I was wondering if the offspring of the War Dogs, if there were, did they keep tabs on Killmonger and his takeover of Wakanda?
I think we call this tiny town when we're writing stuff or a hat on a hat, which means just because the audience knows something is occurring, you should not assume that the people inside the story know that same thing. There are 8 billion human beings. Eric Killmonger is a badass, but he's just one badass on a planet of 8 billion. So unless you knew for sure that he was the child of, what's his name? Come on.
In the movie, it's in Jobu.
Njobu's kid. Unless you knew that, and how would you? Kept it a secret. So if you didn't know that, why would you be tracking him? Even if you had the capability.
Shout out to Chillmonger. That Inhuman's assessment is funny coming from the creator of Mosaic.
I created Mosaic independent of that, and Marvel asked me, is it okay if we make him Inhuman? And I was like, sure, I love the Inhumans, which I currently still love the Inhumans. Like, you got to work with what they have on the ground. Like, I had an origin story for him that didn't involve Inhumans at all. The Inhumans are not required for Mosaic. And if you read it, Mosaic spent a good portion. They forced me to add Mosaic to all that nonsense that was going on between the Inhumans and the X-Men. He was specifically designed to not be part of that.
Maybe they'll make him a mutant and bring him back.
I hope they never touch my boy again. They did him dirty, and it. Don't even read past issue 5 or 6. It's a waste of your time. Everything they did, everything after that was me doing damage control on what that stupid crossover did to my boy. I built a unique character, a minority character that was going to be able to jump between street level folks and all the way up to gods dealing with crap. And his growth story was started out an asshole, completely self-centered, And the more traits of other human beings, the more stories of other human beings that he had to incorporate into himself made him grow so that he became a better person. I don't want anybody ever touching Mosaic. There's only one other guy that did him right. And that was for 5 seconds in that whole Hydra Cap thing. Nick Spencer. Okay. He did Mosaic right. There's no other writer that did him right. In fact, the couple other writers did him exactly wrong over my protest. So, no, I don't want anybody else. I'm glad he's obscure. I'm glad nobody's thinking about him. Leave my boy alone. Like, we got 5-6 good issues out of him. Leave him alone.
Did a version of Memnon in the series rule over Ethiopia at the time before ruling with Achilles and his crew?
Yeah, but this Memnon didn't rule Ethiopia. That's something that was put in by writers of the myth. That's what we were getting at with the story.
Next question. I'm coming in late, so sorry if this has already been asked, but why didn't y'all cover Wakanda's involvement in battling the transatlantic slave trade as told in Black Panther Annual #1?
First of all, we did sort of talk about it earlier, so you should rewind. And I don't know where it was in the section, but I didn't read that, so I don't know what they did or did not do. But if they did anything to involve themselves in the transatlantic slave trade that did not culminate with them taking over the world, then it was nonsense.
Yeah. Next question.
To me, just to me. If you loved it, great. But no.
The twins from West Coast Adventures are fused and allied. Yes, thank you.
Super sticker.
Thank you, Tron, for the super sticker. Dr. Wizard, is that all the questions we have? He's not messaging me. He says we're all done. That's all their questions. All right. Jeff, another wonderful episode with you.
We're going to be back here again in another time. You're going to have some more stuff to talk about.
Oh.
more NDA covered stuff.
More NDA covered stuff. It's even better.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you, as always. You know me, you the fam, whatever. But I know there's a lot of people who feel, and I think justifiably so, some kind of way. I'm very much in the recast T'Challa mode. But I'm not going to watch anything because T'Challa's not in it mode, because one, the company doesn't feel that. I know you wish they do, but they don't. But more importantly, Eyes of Wakanda was created by a black man out of his head with no help from anybody in a job that did not set him up to become the showrunner of anything. Todd Harris's career trajectory did not include creating and running a show, directing anything, designing any of that. He's a storyboard artist. His story is they put him into a job that usually takes people like me a decade to learn how to do right. And he killed it. He enhanced our notion about Wakanda and the Black Panther is, I said this at the top if you guys weren't here. The Black Panther is to every other Wakandan what, Captain America is to a regular human being, a regular normal person. But a baseline Wakandan is what Captain America is to a regular human being. So we're fleshing out what's under him to show you how impressive he is. Now, I can't guarantee that other writers are going to treat them right in terms of power scaling. I'm almost going to guarantee they won't because they haven't thought it through properly. But this show was created to enhance the original plan for Black Panther and his mythology, to make it deeper and richer, while Chadwick Boseman was playing that part. So any rumors that it was part of some nefarious scheme to erase T'Challa or, push him aside for some other reason, maybe that's in effect. I don't know. And ultimately, I don't care, because that's not what we were doing. There was none of that going on. Couldn't possibly have timeline-wise, right? And this is as close to an all-black production as you're going to get from Marvel.
Yeah.
And again, one dude made this up, and it wasn't me. They would have never thought of this if not for Todd coming over the fence with it. So
shout out to your entire team. Please convey my respect and admiration to your team. I really love this series. That's why I was fired up to bring you on here.
Thank you. I love talking about it.
Dispel all the rumors and lies and BS, quite frankly, I saw on the internet about the show. People depriving them of the show off of just a bunch of stuff they made up or read on the internet.
It's the internet. We can't help what spreads around, but I don't work for that company, man. I have no future plans at Marvel. Marvel has not offered me anything. I do not give a shit whether Marvel rises or falls. Like, it's a giant corporation. Sometimes they employ me. Currently, they are not employing me. I have no company loyalty. I am not looking up to do anything. Okay? If I tell you something happened, it fucking happened. If I tell you it didn't happen, as far as I know, it didn't happen. And anybody who's got something to say about it, contradictory, step up to the mic. That's what I have.
Dr. Wizard wants to throw in one last question because he's a spec guy. Do you consider your X-Force number 2 to be a comic key, due to the Spirit Archive first mention and appearance?
Well, that would only matter if anyone gave a shit what I write at these companies and uses them again, because then it would be the first appearance. But if they don't give a shit and never use them again, it's the only appearance and no one will care. So my biggest question to you is, if you like it, it's a key. So
that's probably the best answer.
Right? Yeah. So I wish we'd have more episodes. That's all I can ever say about that. I wish we'd have more episodes.
Look, everyone who's watching this now, first of all, please like this video. That's way it'll hit the algorithm. Share the video. Subscribe to Black Comic Lords if you're not subscribed. It costs you nothing to do any of these things. Share the video out. Tag Marvel. Say, hey, I want more stuff like this, Marvel. And let's see what happens. Let's try and make some noise.
Yeah.
Because these brothers are really, really talented. What they did was something special. It was dope. It was enjoyable. I'm going to watch it probably a fourth time soon. It's a pleasure to have you, Jeff. It's always a pleasure.
I love your show. I love your channel. I love what you're trying to do. You know me. I'll come when you call me.
Black Comic Lords forever, man.
For life.
All right, y'all. Black Comic Lords, we got you.
Peace.